very hot.
I'm almost positive, even if during convention you weren't on the committee, that the committee can bring you onto the committee at the next meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll work.
I mean, that kind of stuff seems like it happens all the time. But
Okay.
All right, we are live, y'all.
We're live.
Yes,
I would hope so. Otherwise, we'd be dead.
Oh, God, we're
that's all
starting with that.
live, dummy. I can't believe you started the episode with something so awful.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible human being.
I don't want you anymore. I'm not.
is this
I'm not
like that
adopting
road
you.
work ahead joke?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's gonna be a
I
bumpy
sure
road from
hope it
here.
does.
I'm the official archivist of the dad joke repository.
Lol. What the
I
hell?
like how in a voice chat, Mike still says lol instead of just actually laughing out loud.
Why would I do that?
Yeah, you're right. It takes a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. That's extra work. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
This thing won't let me. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna give you guys a link, and we don't have. Is there anybody? We have to fucking tell people we're live first. I suppose that would work.
Yeah.
I suppose that would be a good thing to do. I'm sorry I'm late. I couldn't get here for the planning.
And there was planning.
Good answer.
See, this is why it'd be good for the rules committee.
Oh my God. Worst rules committee ever. Just because of Paxton.
You think
It's a
he's
weird
going to
way to
drag
say it.
down? You think he's going to drag like Rex Lawhorn down?
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh,
if
is he on the committee?
he is the committee.
Well, I was about to say, he always seems to know his bylaws.
He is the committee.
No, I
That's so
think
dramatic.
I think
am
the
the
state bylaws say that like the chairman and the secretary are automatically on that committee, and then a certain number of other people. But
I see.
Well, I'm gonna throw this in the Discord. You guys pass it around, obviously, and
Where are you posting it to?
I'm just gonna put it in our Discords. I put it on the Twitter and the Facebook.
I mean, what
and
channel though?
The Boomer Book and the Twatter.
The first of these always ends up being crap because we're never ready. I3 is just groaning. We can't tell though.
Copy.
All right, there we go.
I
Hi,
think this is the
everybody.
point,
Welcome
yeah.
to the Mad LiberTEA Party thing. This week,
DDDD.
we've got all sorts of freaking alphabet shit for you guys. We got like the LNC and the LP and the BLM and the LGBT, and I'm sure we left out some alphabets we'll talk about.
And I also
I3UTM
want
is
to
an
talk about
alphabet.
the DNC and the RNC, because those are some
Yes.
pretty big people
Yeah.
who are all POSs.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know
A
that
POS is another.
Dill's running a bit late, but they're gonna be here and they have a story to tell too, so that's gonna be great. And we have as a guest that you guys haven't probably seen on here with us before. Would you like to introduce yourself, buddy?
Hi, I'm Jay, and I am half of the Armed Bear Caucus.
Half of. Are you the right arm or the left arm?
It's a paw, man. Come on.
Okay, fine. Which paw are you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, some days.
Some days.
Mrs. Bear is the other half.
Mrs. Bear's the other half. I didn't.
I basically just got tired of all the caucuses yelling at each other, and I said I'm going to make one and put myself in it.
We should make our own caucus.
Yeah.
We'll make
It's
our
more
own
of a-
caucus with blackjack and hookers.
And hookers. It'll be a big
You
black
are
caucus.
anarchist. Big black caucus.
Thank you, Paxton, for that. Would you like
That
to
wasn't me.
elaborate,
Hey, he
please?
was repeating me. Don't blame it on him. He's okay. Look, I'm a bear.
He's not okay.
Y'all
He
can
needs
adopt
mental
me.
help.
Can I be part of your caucus?
It's really an honorary caucus. It's for people who like guns and blowing crap up,
See,
and who are
Wait a minute, I
libertarian.
like guns and blowing crap
Oh,
up.
well,
I think we all do.
you don't like
But
guns.
do you
and
have
blowing
the
shit up.
shirt?
I don't
I
have.
Yeah, you
don't
gotta
have
have the
the
shirt.
I don't have the shirt.
It'd be a little
Where's
weird if
that
we had the shirt,
shirt?
honestly.
Would it?
Yeah, I've printed like 2 of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, where did you get that?
Yeah,
Stay
it was
out of my house for the last time, Mike. I told you to stay out of my house. Jeez. But we brought him on here because we were talking with everybody about what we should talk about this week and everything, and he brought up some good stuff. And I forgot to mute my fucking phone.
Mike is a professional.
I swear to God. Just kill me.
Mike is like, yes, I consider myself something, or
Something.
I'm something of a streamer myself.
Oh my God.
Proceed.
Well, at least I didn't leave it with the lose it and then have the cops find it and then have to go back to the group of people in their riot gear and tell them that my phone says taxation is theft. Can I please have it back? I just
see
left
no
it
problem.
on.
I see no problem with this hypothetical situation.
I'm not gonna lie, it made me a little nervous. Just a little bit. Because they're like, what does it say on the back of it then if it's yours? And I'm like, oh, taxation is theft. Please don't beat me.
Mike, they were gonna beat you regardless.
They
You're a
didn't beat me.
minority.
They can't tell.
Oh,
They can't tell when he has his mask on. He's in black block.
black block.
Yeah, I have to take my sunglasses off. And then people are like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like,
Me
"Thanks,
too.
I guess. Maybe. No idea. Still, but so what is going on with these? Let's get down to it. I think we should. What is going on with these states? I have noticed that since they brought up, since back when they were first bringing up the having the first seat sitting at the
Mhm.
Libertarian Party thing, it looked like there were states about to throw a fit and stomp out. But it seems like most of them actually played along with the first sitting.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing with that, and we probably don't have time unless we go on for like 48 hours
Oh
to
God,
tell
yeah.
the story of the convention. But
Oh,
That can be arranged.
just in full disclosure, my wife and I, Mrs. Bear and I, the Armed Bear Caucus, are delegates from the state of Oklahoma. So we participated officially in that first sitting, which is a
Oh.
word that doesn't exist in Robert's rules anywhere. But like I said, I'm not gonna
Yeah, I watched
off the
some
rails
of it.
there.
It was frustrating,
It was a nightmare.
confusing.
In fact, in these hallowed halls, we had basically almost the whole Oklahoma delegation, and we did kind of a nerd out land party version
Oh,
of the
really? That's
yeah, where we could all talk and vote and yell at people to vote and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. But we're all looking forward to going to Orlando, and the deal was more or less that they were going to stick to, and I'm gesturing. You can't see me gesture.
I could see it.
We were going to stick to this compromise notion anyway, if not illegal. At least it was an understanding that we would do nothing more than nominate the candidates and then reconvene in Orlando and do all the actual business. One of the sticking points for Orlando was that there had to be a ratification vote. And this is where you're going to draw a line between the we believe in bylaws as a contract and do whatever you need to do to get stuff done.
Right.
Factions. I am clearly and squarely in the bylaws are a contract we made with each other. And what is breaking a contract to a libertarian? What does that mean? So we pretty much, the whole Oklahoma delegation, we kind of became black sheep during that first bit of the convention because we were like, we're not doing this nonsense.
It's
Oklahoma
not.
actually put out a resolution that said if we do anything other than nominate the president and vice president, we're going to go nominate our own people at our state convention. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, Oklahoma, what are you doing? You're being jerks. And we're like, no, we want you to adhere to the bylaws. It's pretty simple. So
I remember waking up one morning and y'all's
Yeah.
post was on our Facebook page in Arkansas, and people were like, "What is this?"
yeah, they thought it was just nothing, and then California signed their own version of it. And California has like 1 million delegates, and we have 14. Because
How
Cali's
many
just
delegates
huge.
do they have? Like they
Oh,
do
they
have
got
a lot of
100.
delegates. Yeah.
They had like
100.
109 or something stupid. We had 14.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So when California says, "Hey, we're not playing this game either," then everybody kind of had to start taking notice. And then I think Indiana joined, and it became a thing. Now we have
But-
this kind of counter resolution coming from Nevada, however they say it. Don't want to offend anyone. And
Yeah.
then Utah, and now New Mexico saying, if you don't let us all have all the online participation we want, we're leaving. And my immediate response is, don't negotiate with terrorists. So, but then I thought, okay, let's read the resolution. That I actually made some notes, but Nevada and Utah are basically saying, if online participation isn't not only prepared for by the convention committee in Orlando by June 20th, as well as they'll disaffiliate, they'll leave, and not only will they leave, they will refuse to nominate the presidential candidate, Joe Jorgensen, to their Secretary of State, leaving her off the ballot.
So
They're
holding her
actually
hostage,
they are
basically.
actually holding ballot access hostage, and that's what they said we were doing. And we said, no, we're not holding ballot access hostage. We're just going to put them on ourselves, so that so that there will be a legitimate nomination from Oklahoma. And I mean, California had their own reasons. They have a state law that says they have to nominate at a convention, something along those lines. I haven't really researched that, but their whole deal was, we have to nominate a convention. And the way we get around that legally is to have that ratification coming in Orlando. It's all a Robert's Rules mess, and I had to kind of learn it on the fly. But
Well, y'all can't
basically,
even change the rules of allowing that shit until you get there, can you? Like,
no, and everybody kind of knows that's the truth, but they pretend that we don't need to. Like, I know everybody here, when they hear Nick Sarwark, there's a booing and hissing going on.
Nick the
He
Nick.
thinks that this first sitting was a real convention. And one of the weirdest things that happened on that online deal was we were moving to adjourn that last
Mhm.
day. And Nick is like, I suppose we would be adjourning sine die. And everybody went, whoa, 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 that's not even the truth. So we had to make a specific adjournment to Orlando for the second phase. It was just a mess. Anyway, this all revolves around basically two notions of, are the bylaws sacrosanct in as much as they can be? And I think we're pragmatic enough to know, if you can't have a convention because there was a hurricane, or because there was an actual pandemic that's killing everybody, or it's just simply too dangerous, or, we were invaded by Russian bots or something with lasers and stuff, then
Right?
yeah, we can't have a convention. We'll have to do something else. But that's like a legal impossibility. And that's how you usually would get out of a contract, is that there's a legal impossibility to act on that contract. Anyway, I don't know if
I
I'm
mean,
rambling
I
too
think that
much.
that they overdo it with the bylaws, but I think that if it is a bylaw, you should change it orderly.
And that's really all that we were saying, is you can say what you want, but the bylaws are clear. Robert's Rules is clear. When you have a radical like D. Frank Robinson, who actually co-founded this party in 1971 and was there in David Nolan's living room, and he says, this is what the bylaws are supposed to do, this is what they mean, and he's from Oklahoma, I'm listening to Frank.
Right?
It's not necessarily an appeal to authority, but the dude is right. He's been doing this for 40 years. And that's his interpretation. And nobody could consider, nobody's going to look at Frank and say, oh, he's just a stodgy old stuffed shirt who doesn't, he's set in his ways and he's the past. No, dude is a rock star.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knows we're in a fight. He knows that ballot access and all these things are what are keeping us from gaining ground. And he knows to kill the Hydra, you have to hit the heart. You have to go for the heart. You can't just chop the heads off one at a time. So, you know,
I thought the
think Frank
Hydra
is
thing
right.
involved a torch, and like maybe we could use a pitchfork too.
You
I like
have
that
to
combo.
cauterize the heads of
Yeah,
the
you
Yeah,
Hydra.
you have
gotta-
to like cauterize the head, and then just wreck everything.
have to go
It's easy.
through
You just have to
the-
dismantle everything.
You have to
Or
go
you
through
set
the
your phaser on
process.
full power or
Oh
whatever.
God.
Anyway,
Just fucking
Set-
nuke them. Just
Set your
nuke them.
phasers to kill. Make nuke the hell out of it.
so anyway, that's the deal. New Mexico jumped in, and they have a resolution that followed on that was kind of weird because they were saying, well, if you guys keep, you know, don't let us have our online access, we might disaffiliate if we vote on it in 2021 as a state body. Okay. They're still coming to convention, but if
Yeah.
we don't allow online access, even though their whole delegation will be in Orlando, they're going to
think they should
consider that
be-
their delegation was rejected. And I'm like, does that mean they're going to walk out the door and drive home after a couple days? I don't
don't
understand
know.
it.
They're
And the
gonna
thing
all
is-
go to Disneyland.
You got to understand there's probably backstory at each individual state party where there's been a huge fight in the background that we didn't know about.
Oh yeah, probably. There always is. Hi Dill, welcome back or welcome in. We were just talking about the states and people disagreeing over the Libertarian Party convention and stuff like that.
Oh yes, very good.
Oh wait, who the hell is this? Oh,
Oh yes, I am Vittoria Liptardo. I am a seducer of women and libertarian.
Are you the
Okay.
prime
Yeah.
minister of Italy by any chance?
Viva la revolution. Revolutionary.
Yes,
Libtardo.
revolution, anarchism, freedom, you know, liberty. Read Bastiat, he great Frenchman. Read Murray Rothbard. Read Adam Smith, great economist.
Well, we just lost all of our viewership from
God
any
damn.
country speaking a Romance language. See you, Latin America.
We're not
Italy,
allowed to be
France,
watched
and
anywhere
Portugal.
now. I hope you're happy. No. But like, so past the state thing and all of that, like, you were talking about some stuff going on with Nick, and I have been trying really hard to ignore him lately, but it piqued my curiosity.
We can talk
So,
about
like-
that a little bit if you want.
Can we? Because like I'm kind of curious about what's going on, and I made myself kind of like wait for the surprise because honestly I don't have the energy to go find out what Nick's doing right now.
I kind of am the same. I kind of was like, oh, it's, you know, Monday. Did another weird thing happen? But
Yeah,
I actually didn't have a problem with Nick until like 6 months ago. I thought,
Oh,
okay, he's
he did
snarky
it.
every now and then and he says stuff, but I didn't think he really deserved a reputation of being a libertarian or that, because he's been accused of both things. Oh, he's catering to the alt-right or he's bringing in the commies. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
see either
earlier
one.
Today I was like, that motherfucker may have brought a bunch of people to the party, but most of them are Republicans. So like, you know, I was saying the other thing too.
Maybe he's just catering to the alt commies. Who can tell at
The
this
old
point?
commies.
The
It's
alt
the
commies.
No,
commies.
he's favoring the alt libertarians now.
The alt
communist right.
Nazbols.
Yeah.
Bring in the Nazbols.
The altarians have rised
Actually, I
up.
think Nazgul is plural of Nazgul.
I don't even
Nazballs.
want to know.
Oh, I thought you said Nazgul, like ring rats.
Oh God. No, they're talking about what is the long-term word? It's national.
It's a meme. Don't worry about it.
National Bolshevik.
Yeah, I named my cat
everything's a
Little
meme.
Nazgul.
What?
Don't take me seriously, man.
Mike,
You
we
know,
did
I'll
a
show you
stream,
K-Rex
Transbull
sometime.
Gang. You don't remember Transbull Flag? Yeah? No?
Oh man,
Yes.
we would rather meme than talk about Nick. That's fucking sad.
Well, Nick is now a meme. He's several memes.
Yeah, I can't
Many
lie.
memes.
I've made several of my own. I have on hand several of his heads already removed from things to just paste them onto shit. That's how it is at this point. That's how it is.
Mostly it involves Nick's head and dislocated penises.
Well, I made that one where he was like shooting Maj in the chair
yeah.
and being like, "Why is everyone mad at me?"
Yeah.
Classic.
Oh, classic Mike.
Oh, Kilroy made some good ones too.
Kilroy is a meme god.
He is.
I miss
He makes a
that
lot of
boy.
Kilroy the
good
meme god.
ones. We'll have to toss those back up again because they're still relevant. They're still really relevant.
Just put them in the video.
Yeah, just I don't know how to do that yet. We have to learn how to do that.
Can we talk about the convention, Mike? Are you coming to the convention?
I don't know. It depends.
Can I give you money and you come to the convention?
Uh,
Because I don't want to be alone in a
possibly.
room with a whole bunch of people.
We could talk about it later. I could
Okay.
probably be convinced. I'm trying to
All
get my bike issues out of the way so I can just drive up there when I need to.
all I know is that when we set up our table or our booth, is we need to have nothing but the Nick Sarwalk memes printed out all over.
We'll make a
tablecloth and
table
everything.
cloth.
Joe Jorgensen is
Yeah.
going to be at our state convention.
Oh,
Ye-
really?
Wait, Mike,
Yeah.
you're over here on my Hollywood squares. I'm poking at you. You should take that
Yeah.
into consideration.
I forgot I didn't tell you about that at all.
Oh, by the way,
Almost.
Honestly, I haven't had I'm kind of against getting involved in the federal level government personally at this point, and probably will not be voting.
Mike,
But it
this
would be
is
very interesting to get a
this
chance
is-
to maybe meet her.
this is mostly about just seeing me again. Let's be honest.
So I have a question because I'm relatively new to libertarian politics. I follow it kind of, but mostly politics is a spook anyway. So
Yeah,
who is this
body
person?
Max voice.
and why did I never hear of them until they were nominated? Because I
Joe
heard of a lot of
Jorgensen?
libertarian candidates, but I did not know that she
lot of
existed.
us-
until-
He
who
did
came
kind of
in
come out of
late.
left field.
a lot of us who came in late weren't really familiar with her, but the old guard knew her from
96.
So
Oh,
much for
1996.
history
Harry
with
Brown
both
and all
these.
that. And that
Yeah.
was before, at that point, I was still like a Liberty Republican type person who
Yeah.
sort of didn't really get involved either. But I would like, so based on what Mike was saying, I would like to make this plea, if I could, to our anarchy oriented brothers and sisters. I get it. A lot of people say it's a waste of time to vote, or on principle, they don't vote. But what I will say is if you vote for the libertarian, it's like throwing a monkey wrench into the gears of the machine.
And then a Democrat or Republican gets elected anyway, and we're fucked no matter what.
No, well, they will probably
Well,
get elected. But if we get enough, and it's gone up every year for the last, 8 or 10 years. If you get enough where they can't ignore you, you can actually get the party past a lot of these artificial state ballot access hurdles. The biggest of which is this nonsensical Commission on Presidential Debates. And there's lawsuits constantly going up against that. But remember, kids, back when Ross Perot first ran, the
oh,
Commission
God.
on Presidential Debates, they had like a 5% cutoff, 5% in nationwide polling. After Ross Perot scared the absolute crap out of both the other parties, they changed it to 15.
15%. Yep. And
Ross
plus the
Perot.
fact, yeah.
Ross Perot took 19% of the popular vote as an independent that year, or as his reform party. I voted for him just because I was throwing a wrench that year. He wasn't, the best candidate, but
I'm more morally okay with the idea of voting locally, but personally, it's a use of force upon people when especially at a federal level. I can't participate in that shit. But
I liken it to defensive force against the state every now and then.
Well, no,
Well-
see, I don't see that as a viable thing though for it. And I kind of agree with Mike in focusing on a federal level. I just don't think it's where the LP should really be throwing its money at. We need to focus on
Well,
local
I
elections.
think that
And
we
I
need
will,
a lot
I'll
of
address
money on
that
the
too in a
federal,
second.
Yeah.
the whole thing with that, though, it's kind of like Max said. Yeah, you know, if we can vote and get the ballot access and all that stuff, but what is that ballot access for?
Well, and
We're
that's
fucked
where,
anyway.
that's where it comes in. It's where we are kind of fighting the Hydra. There's so many heads that you have to fight at the same time. We have to get ballot access. Some states, they want to see, they require, you know, a POTUS percentage. Some states like Oklahoma, ours has been worse in the past, and now it's practically a gimme, because now we can do 2.5% in any statewide race at all. And so
But what I'm saying
run a
is,
state auditor who gets 250,000 votes because pissed off Democrats don't want to vote for the R.
is that ballot access for a presidential bid?
It's to get the ballot access means I can actually put libertarian on my voter card instead of independent. You will be a state recognized party in Oklahoma, for
So
instance.
we have to like go
So-
around and get petitions and shit every so
You can,
often.
or you can petition in a lot of states, but some states are very strict about letting parties in. And so, you know, the national LP takes a lot of heat for, you're only concentrating on the big flashy races.
Yeah, see here,
But they
I'm
kinda have
totally
to.
okay with helping with the petition and signing it and taking it around and getting people to sign it and shit. But like, you know, I have that option here in the state. It's not an option everywhere. In fact, I don't know. Like, I think we still do it that way. I'm pretty sure we do though.
But the only place that can really help us is in the long term. How are we going to fix shit short term when either the Republicans next election are taking away our First Amendment and the Democrats are taking our second? How are we going to reconcile with
Well,
this?
I
we-
hate to break it to you, but we can't short term fix that. Not without a boogaloo, and I don't think anybody's ready for that shit.
Boogaloo. Sorry, I have the coronavirus. It's just the cough. Boogaloo.
I mean, doobie doos. I don't want to fucking say anything about some fuck.
I mean, I just want to
my
say,
God.
if a bunch of libs in Seattle can take over 6 city blocks, think what we could do. I'm
They-
just going to float that.
Let's admit, though, they took over 6 blocks because the mayor and the cops said, okay.
Whatever.
Well, the cops
yeah.
were against it. The
Well,
mayor was
yeah,
sucking
but-
off
Right.
the
Those
So the
people
leadership let
are
it
not
happen for a photo
anarchists.
op.
It's
I've
kind of
been
like
watching
when you have a
that
kid,
shit.
you know, they say, oh, you know, I'm gonna go do whatever I want. I'm like, whatever,
Like, oh,
fuck off.
whatever,
Do you'll see, you
Fuck
dumb
off.
kid.
The
You know what I
accent
mean?
just
Like
got
sometimes
like
you
a
gotta let
million
kids
times
go
thinner
and
there.
fuck up. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of what they're doing. They're like, they'll come around eventually.
I would
Kid.
Jay, I would
Yep.
sort of push back on just this one point. Now, I agree with most of what you said. My state, Alabama, is almost as bad as Oklahoma, if not worse. We're one of the worst states for ballot access for any third party, not just Libertarian Party. The Constitution and Green Party is also just forgotten Alabama. And in fact, Democrats are having a hard time, even with their national party, supporting the state party within Alabama. Doug Jones, the senator that sort of is up for re-election, has had to battle out his own state party leaders within Alabama. It's 70 to 80% Republican in this state, sometimes 95% when you go into certain counties. The Libertarian Party has abandoned Alabama nationally. The state party of the Libertarian Party, I have not contacted them in years. I'm not on Facebook and don't intend to be on Facebook.
I
So.
think they started the alligator caucus.
Alligator caucus.
Of
The Alabama delegation got mad at the Oklahoma delegation as being an obstructionist or as being obstructionists and threatened to feed us to the alligators in Florida.
Yeah,
That's
that's Alabama for you. And
you
I'm
guys
like,
have I mean,
no.
like, didn't you guys have a lizard or something running at one point?
Okay, Josh Smith's ex-girlfriend has a
Oh,
pet
yeah.
iguana. It's a slam on Josh. I just endorsed Josh. But excuse me, Alabama demographically and Oklahoma are almost identical as far as the politics, I think, because we had 0 blue counties in the last two presidential elections, maybe 3. Like not a single county went for Obama either time. So what happens is Democrats give up on being Democrats, and then they literally just change to Republican so that they can run in a primary and try to win, and people aren't paying attention. So I mean, it's happening at local and county races all over the state. But I agree with you. It can be discouraging. Like I said, Alabama's ballot access is notoriously bad. Ours got way better a few years ago. In fact, I remember the Libertarians and the Greens actually pooled petition drives. So we each carried each other. I say we, I wasn't involved at the time, but like the Libertarians carried 2 petitions, one for the Libs, Libertarians, one for the Greens, and the Greens did the same thing. And I don't think the Greens made it, clearly, because you can't register Green, but sometimes you just got to throw in with the other third parties, even though you think they're weird.
Well, I would say the only time I did that was in 2012 when there was ballot access pushes by both the Greens and Libertarians in Alabama at that time. That's when Gary Johnson first ran, and I think Dr. Jill Stein ran at the same time, and they were both very popular on RT, and they got a lot of exposure, which helped both parties at that time, because at that time, both candidates received a large portion of votes for a very long time in either party in 2012. But within my own state, one of the leaders of at least the Jefferson County, Shelby County Libertarians, the Metro Birmingham, the person I followed dearly, and he brought me into the state and local party in 2006, I think, probably a little earlier than that. But he himself was sort of ousted because he had very hardline libertarian views that didn't coincide with the state party. And I sort of followed his lead and I just left the party. And I'm sort of a voter that votes without voting. I go into the voting booth, I give my ID, I write my name down, they cross it off, I take my ballot, do not mark any candidate out there, it's left blank, and I'm legally allowed to put a blank ballot in the ballot machine. And I've been doing that for several elections now, and I'm okay with that. I don't want to hurt any candidate, but I don't really want to help any candidate. I don't really push any candidate. I don't vote, or I donate to candidates. Now I've donated, to put it out there, I've donated for Trump, Biden, Jorgensen, Ruff, Yang, and Gabbard. That's the way I roll. I will donate to all parties involved, but I will not vote for any party that I donated to. And I've done that for 2 election cycles, and I'm very comfortable with doing that. However, Jorgensen was my second best choice after Ruff and Phillips dropped out. Mm-hmm. I knew of her only after Ruff dropped out in January. And that's when I started donating to her and sort of following her. But I myself, I'm not on social media to promote her. I don't really see myself promoting the party until they give me some resources for third, party ballot access. And to me, that's a very difficult situation to be in. I'm not involved with my state party. I would like to be, but I would like for them to at least come halfway on my terms. And I've basically been somewhat pushed toward the anarchy side of things because I'm with Maxwell. I just think it's absurd with all political parties. I'm at that point, but I'm not necessarily totally lost. I'm just very, I'm getting black pilled toward politics.
Come to the dark side, I3.
Yeah, even at the local level, I've got, I live in a conservative community that just raised taxes because everybody wants to fund the schools. They don't want to hear about privatizing schools or privatizing the police or privatizing roads. I mean, even the conservatives here are just as big government as Democrats. And so I'm just stuck. The Senate. Even in the Senate, and the Republican side, you got Tuberville and Sessions. And on the Republican or on the Democrat side, you got Jones. There's no local Senate race for Libertarians or Greens because it's just, you have to raise millions of dollars just to run in the Senate election alone. But you know, I would vote for a libertarian candidate again. However, if she is not on the ballot and I have to write her in, it's counted. The Secretary of State changed rules in 2018, I think, to where all writing candidates are counted as just a writing candidate. So unless she is actually on the ballot, I'm not going to write her in. But if she is on the ballot, I will vote for her, but I'm not going to push. That's where I'm at today. And I'm basically okay with that decision for right now. But yeah, I just said my piece. Yeah.
I think
And I just,
everybody has to act their conscience. I just wanted to throw out there. Sometimes we're voting. We're totally voting. We are totally participating in a rigged ball game.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It's
But
all...
we're playing anyway. That's our group. And like I said, we have a pretty hardcore group here in Oklahoma. We've actually gotten people elected to city council now. We've got a guy running for state senate as an actual libertarian, and I think Robert Murphy is running for senate against Jim Inhofe, who's 100 damn years old now.
Are you
Inhofe won't have a...
Oh, sorry.
That's probably one of our more of our paper races, if that makes sense, where we're just trying to, get a 2.5% somewhere, and that gives us another 4 years. So we keep pushing that deadline out, because if you don't do that every cycle, after a couple cycles, you're going to drop off, and there's not even going to be a card you can put your name, put your party on.
Right.
And it's not everyone's cup of tea. I am not an anarchist guy.
So is it
classical liberal minarchist type?
If we get 2.5% on any of the ballots, that counts, or is it just
Any
towards
state,
that thing?
in Oklahoma, any statewide race will push the deadline out to 4 years.
Corporate commissioner.
Corporation commissioner.
Yeah. Get the
so John Yetter
up there.
John Yetter got 250,000 votes for state auditor and inspector because there was no Democrat running.
So then why focus on the presidential race? Why don't we focus on...
Well, it's not for Oklahoma. It's for those states who are really
who
hosed.
care only about the presidential election.
Well, no, I don't really fault the states that don't have other options doing it. I don't actually fault the states that do have. Well, I do. Yeah. Like if you have another option, I think that you should be being more local. Like right now is a perfect opportunity, and it has been for since 2020 is the year everything fucking didn't work. Why are we not taking advantage of this in our communities? Because in my community right now, people are out there literally in the streets talking about 2A and talking about empowering the community and lengthening the dollar value. I mean, the dollar life and shit like that. They're out there talking about how we can't just vote for red or blue. We have to vote for principles, and they're pushing independent people and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, we need libertarians to step in right now and talk to these people and tell them what we're about, because they're saying a lot of the same shit we're saying without prompting. This is the perfect time. I don't know
maybe
how is it there with y'all? Are y'all having protests still? Or y'all having
there were some protests in the city, and the couple, they got a little bit weird. I obviously didn't go
in Tulsa. That was super fun.
I meant to ask you what happened.
We were leaving, and they're all like, y'all are all like, be very careful. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. We just run off and get gassed and pelted.
I just remember
bullets and
you had one job, to be careful.
I have to put this out there. I have video of them firing gas canisters into moving traffic of people who weren't even protesting and shit.
I just remember a specific look whenever we were speaking with the other half of the Bear Caucus. She was suggesting that we go to the shooting range with you guys, I think the following day. And I was like, I don't know, we'll see. We're going to the protest. She just gave us this look and was just like, be careful. It's like, oh God, they're anarchists. They're gonna blow up the city.
They're gonna light something on
Paxton's
fire.
angry,
We're all like
like
crazy in the
rage-filled
back of the
fuck
car
you.
going, well, people started looting, so we're leaving now. Also, we
Yeah.
got gassed a lot, and that was super fun. Fuck this shit.
I don't
tried
mind
to
the
head
gas
down to Phoenix a few times, on only one of which my car battery died, so that's good. But besides being stranded next to Chase Field during a riot, there was the other day, I remember I walk up to a police officer, hey, what the hell are you doing here? It's past curfew, blah, blah, blah. I asked him where the protest was. He looked me dead in the eye and he said, there have been no protests for the past 5 days. Everything's been calm. The moment he said that, there was an explosion 2 blocks away.
Gas canister pops.
I told you,
and he's
sir,
like,
I'll be on my way over there.
there."
Have a nice night.
Because I wouldn't go that way if I were
I
you.
called Mike afterwards. We were laughing our asses off.
Yeah, he kept calling me in the voice chat while he's out there, and I'm like, oh my God, you're gonna fucking die.
I'm
I
like,
was
you gotta
mad.
hear this shit.
What have I done? I sent this poor boy into this shit. What have I done? Because he's sending me back all
Upper
these
middle class. I'm not
pictures of
poor.
like 50,000 cop cars just piled into fucking
My
police.
God. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
into
that's the
parking
funny
garages
thing.
and shit. And
The
I'm like,
parking
oh
garages
God,
were
we're
full of
gonna have
cop
to sort of
cars.
fund
Because if they
it,
parked
get
them in their
out
normal
of
police
jail.
parking lot, they'd get torched. Like we've been breaking cop cars' windshields for a couple weeks now. I'm not sure how things have been. I've been a bit busy to worry, but
you said it was still crazy where you're at, right?
it was getting
I3.
it was still pretty intense as of last weekend. How are things over in yonder
I3 land.
I3?
Well, we had the major protest in Lynn Park where there's to give you a short back history, the Confederate statues have been legally in a quandary in Birmingham for over 40 plus years. Ironically, there's been a black mayor since 1979, and they have yet to deal with the issue until around 2013 when they actually had a lawsuit with the state of Alabama to actually remove the statues. Well, in 2017 or 2018, a new mayor came around and he was actually going to force the state of Alabama to say, hey, we're going to remove the statues or else. 2 years went away. The or else was, yeah, we're removing it. We're thinking about it. We're just planning it, stuff like that. So city council is like getting antsy and like, well, we've got a lot of people angry. So there was like last year a big rally to have these statues removed. Mayor set up. I'll not think about it, but he's actually going to do something, do a review or a committee to get together to actually see how much it costs. Well, a year went by, nothing happened. Remember, this is a Democratic held city with black mayors since 1979, with racist Confederate statues in the major park in the city of Birmingham. They didn't do anything until last 2 weeks ago when May 31st, there was a rally by one of the comedians here, a local comedian who is well respected in some of the poetry slams he does. I've met him. I've talked with him. He's great. He's funny. A little brash, but that's his style. He's organized a rally around George Floyd, but that quickly turned into mayhem and vandalism with all the statues trying to be torn down. They got 2 done by themselves and they're trying to do a 3rd statue, but that was like incredibly tough to do. So the mayor, the leaders of the city council, and the lead protester, the guy that led the protest, came to the conclusion, the statue, the main one that the park has been named after, General Lynn, that will be moved Tuesday afternoon at 12 p.m. So that's roughly a day and a half to plan. So that was agreed upon. Well, a lot of the protesters did not like that agreement. So after the mayor left, the police went about 2 blocks away from the park. That's when the riots started happening. I was watching this in real time in a live stream when a reporter got attacked, when 2 people got beat up, and I watched this in live stream for about 4.5 hours. I watched several businesses I actually visited, a week before get destroyed, in front of my very own eyes. The lead protester, the mayor, and the police did not do anything for another hour. That's when I decided these are not protests anymore. This is riot and looting. Black Lives Matter lost me at that point, and they continue to lose me. And after that, there were more peaceful protests, except for two, but they're in Southern Alabama, Montgomery and Mobile. They were not peaceful because the cops were not peaceful. In Birmingham, the cops were so peaceful that the businesses were destroyed, done in a 6 to 8 block
it was
radius.
like night and day, depending on which one you were looking at.
Exactly. So Birmingham was too relaxed in preventing the riots. Montgomery and Mobile and a little bit of Huntsville were too were very adamant about using police force and brutality. So it's like night and day. But eventually, the riots petered out around 3:30 to 4 a.m. And there were alerts around the city I was in, around some of the other major retailers about boarding up, about closing down, because there were rumors on Twitter. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, for 2 days, I was worried that if I went out, I would get beat up because I'm a white guy. So I stood back and said, I'm out of this picture. I'm out of the protest. They done lost me. I'm done. Confederate statues, put them in the museum. Done. End of conversation. You should not have to vandalize businesses to get your point across. After Tuesday, the rhetoric started toning down, and then the peaceful protests started popping up that were actually BLM protests. So there were some around in some of the white suburban areas that were actually peaceful. I could have gone to them, but no, I'm not. No, I don't want I don't want to be reduced to a hashtag. I do not want to be reduced to my race or my skin color. I do not. I think that is dehumanizing, and I think that's
and it's not like
racial.
you participate in or approve of people just being outwardly racist, though.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I just there were peaceful protests after that. I didn't really care about them. I didn't really want to attend them. Most of them social distance and wore masks, which I'm really surprised and encourage that. If you're going to protest, social distance and wear a mask. I'm okay with that. But I myself will not protest. If I were to protest with the BLM movement, the only way I'll protest and kneel is in front of a burned IRS building or the Federal Reserve. That is it.
Well,
you want me to protest against racial injustice? Okay, well, how about the racial injustice of white people being murdered and in jail for a lot of crimes in the state of Alabama?
That's not just racial, though. This is just like this isn't just racial injustice that's been happening for the past couple hundred years. It's just been injustice.
We should not turn this into a racial issue at all. That's where we messed up. It's a police issue.
Racist, though, and you have to admit that some of these people are fucking racist. But also, these injustices are going on all over the place. Let's talk about natives.
Injustice is injustice, no matter who it happens to or who it's done by, and it needs to be stopped.
Yeah. Period.
Well, if you were going to do that, then
I'm working on it. Okay,
people are working on it, and they want to vote the bums out, so to speak. I think we should go further than that and declare to every city official, to every legislator, to every politician, to every federal agency, we are not going to pay taxes. Don't pay them. You're supporting the state. You're supporting a brutal police force. You're supporting murderers. When you pay taxes.
But that's the problem, though, is the protesters aren't worried about that. I mean, I said this to Mike whenever we were at the protest. Like, they're saying fuck the police, but then literally when someone falls down and they don't know what's going on, they call 911. Are you fucking with me?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there are some places that are pretty messed up, and I don't really approve. I have to say that I'm still very proud of Arkansas and how organized everybody is being and shit. But also, like, when we talked last week, I was like, well, I mean, it's Black Lives Matter people, right? Clearly. And I was like, I'll reach out and try and get some of them to come on. Well, it's not, though. Like, it's all these different groups that come together to do different things and shit. But I haven't actually seen a whole Black Lives Matter official or anything like that. and they, people use the hashtag. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's affiliation. And like we were talking about earlier, one of the things that I think is largely overlooked in all of this is that no matter where you are, those protests are not affiliated with Minneapolis. Like they're not about the same things because these communities all snapped over different things. And they will tell you flat out, at least here on the steps of our Capitol, that it's not about George Floyd, that was the finals. I mean, that, it's a great thing, but we have all these different things we need to take care of in our communities and shit.
I mean, yeah, Deion Johnson was killed
And-
here, and I didn't hear a thing about George Floyd the first protest I went to. It was
Well-
because a different person of color was killed by a different police in a different state in a different city.
We have our
Like,
own
this isn't a
list
single
here,
event.
and people will sit there and recite our list of people. These motherfuckers killed 100-some-odd-year-old dude on a no knock. How is that
That
okay
was
no
one
matter what
time.
fucking color you? Okay, that's not the only time they've done some shit here.
It
You
was
know it.
one time.
There's a problem here. There's a real problem here.
It's a problem everywhere.
I feel like Jay is just watching us like these fucking anarchists are just.
Okay, what do you think? What do you think, man?
Are you sure you want me on the rules committee?
Oh God.
I think it'll be hilarious.
Right?
No, I think it'll be good for you. How's that? It'll be a good
Uh-oh.
experience for you, young man. Just like mowing
Uh-oh.
lawns.
What do you mean? Paxton's a boomer.
Yeah, he's totally. a
Paxton's a
boomer.
boomer. I am
Right.
a Sylvan elf.
He's
Sylvan
not a
elf.
boomer.
I
he's
mean,
a Luddite. There's a
Paxton,
difference.
young man, why aren't you coming into the light where we can better see you and judge your character? Why you
are
hide
like
like a
super in the
coward?
dark, like a super villain.
This
Show
is
yourself.
about as
Those
bright as I
hairless
get.
Cats to pet.
Boom, boom.
It's
Just
okay.
like
We'll get you
evil
some
theme
lights,
music.
like I've got, because like this side of my room is usually like super dark. Whenever I'm on video chat with these guys, just in Discord or whatever, it's like I3 over there almost. Not quite, but
So let me ask you this, Jay. What do you think about the joke that is usually within the libertarian circles that it takes the difference between a libertarian and anarchist?
about 6 months.
I'll tell you, it's a joke, and it didn't apply to most of us. But I understand. I mean,
How do
from
you
my
draw that
perspective,
line, though?
well, see, that's the thing. I don't think you have to. At my job, there was a younger dude, and by younger, probably you and Mike's somewhere age. Very much a Portland type, if you know what I mean. Like his mother was from Portland. He lived in Denver, in Boulder, and this whole deal. And we would go round and round. And I don't think he knew what to do with the libertarian mindset, because I was like, look, man, he would ask, so how do you know when you're at the right level of government? I said, I don't know. I just know it's that way. I know we've been going that way for decades, and we need to try pushing the other direction. So I'm one of those guys that says the left-right paradigm
Yeah.
is a lie. It's authoritarian or not. So I don't care if you call yourself a Democrat, a Republican, a commie, a fascist, any of that crap. It's all authoritarian at the end. So what we've got today, and I kind of consider myself, like I said, a classical liberal constitutionalist, like an anti-federalist. That was actually my joke. They say, "Why are you libertarian?" I said, "Because the anti-federalists don't have a party anymore. Where am I supposed to sit?" And to be honest, the anarcho-capitalist wing of the anarchy movement, I'm totally cool with. We all get along. We can all talk. We can all joke and all this stuff. And we can snipe back and forth at each other. I might say, "Oh, you're a goofy utopian," and they're like, "Oh, you're a statist," and I'm like, "Well, I guess
Okay,
technically
fine, technically.
a tiny. This is my state right here. I'm crushing your head. Okay, can you see me? Anyway,
Y'all are like the least of statists, but yeah.
well, and that's only because, you know, people like Jefferson, I think, was quoted, if men were angels, they would not need to be governed, right? So it's not that we think that the government is full of angelic people. Clearly, that's not what we mean. But anyway, I guess I'm not really answering your question. I was trying to tell
You're
a
not.
story.
Yeah.
This dude, he would be like, I don't understand. I would say, it's that direction. Let's go that way for a while and see what's over there, man. It's what we're used to do. You know, we didn't have immigration laws for 100 years. Clearly, you know, the place burned down in that first 100 years. And it's not to diminish or minimize any of the bad things that happened. Clearly, a lot of bad stuff happened to the native people and all that.
Oh, that was one time.
Uh-huh.
That one time, I
When some
mean,
people did something.
it happened so few times that like almost everyone.
Mike, I like that.
God damn it, Mike. Okay, keep going, Jay. You're
Oh,
fine.
I don't even remember where I
I'm
was.
so sorry.
So I have a question though. So like
Are you Italian?
fuck,
Why
whatever.
is
Now I'm
your
just giving it my
accent
accent.
switching?
Fuck that shit. I mean, it was all
Why
just an
don't you
ask.
ask the
It's all
question
an
of
act,
the
but listen,
bear?
let me ask you a question. You talk about this anti-federalist. This country was like the anti-federalists lost. Like that was the founding of this country. So isn't the battle like 230 years like over and totally fucked? The country is based on like the federalists, like the anti-federalists losing essentially. Yeah.
Yes and no, because really they may have lost out, and of course neither one of those groups are a party anymore. Nobody remembers the Whigs. Nobody remembers
Sure.
and
Remember
let's be
the
honest.
Whigs.
Let's be honest. One of my pet peeves is when I'm talking to one of these libertarian, socialist, anarcho-communist types, and they say, "Actually, libertarian used to mean," right? And then they talk
Oh,
about
God.
the coining, and I'm like, well, okay, then let's be clear. The modern Libertarian Party, which has nothing to do with that libertarian any more than Republicans today are the party of Lincoln, or any more
Yeah.
than the Democrats today. Holy cow. They continue to claim they're the party of Jefferson. Are you serious? I mean, the
Sure.
Democrat dash Republicans of the late 1700s, early 1800s are gone. But
They've been gone for a while.
You
Oh,
you
yeah.
also have,
but are they gone? But did that idea
yeah.
go away? That idea,
had,
I think,
yeah.
is here in the LP. I hope.
I mean,
if
a lot
we
of
could
those
keep
ideas aren't entirely true because a lot of old style anarchists, like you have like Lysander Spooner or something like that, very influential in like modern libertarian parties. Like he developed out of the arguments, you know, like criticizing the right of the government to, you know, the whole idea of defensive voting that you use. It was coined by Lysander Spooner and a classical libertarian, supposedly back when, you know.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And I think Spooner's really interesting to read. And then you go, but what was that deal with the labor union, man? That kind of seemed a little off. But
yeah, sure. I mean, it's not exactly click. He had some socialist tendencies and stuff like that. But
and that's the funniest thing is that all of our libertarian heroes had weird quirks, like even the Austrians, like Hayek. How many times have you heard? Well, even Hayek supported a UBI, and you're going,
well,
okay,
did,
as compared to it being not as bad as the current welfare state.
Now,
yeah, of course.
And he was writing during a time when the socialists were totally winning, right? The 30s.
Yeah. That was what the road to serfdom was about. He was like, well,
right.
So, and it got even worse after, in the UK, and that was it, with the loss of the conservatives after World War II, and that's when you really started to see things like nationalization and a lot of policies. Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on anarcho-anarchism? That's what my
like I'm all for like a Monty Python-esque type anarchy, if that's what you're after.
Well, it's like Vermin Supreme and his version of Three Ponies for Everybody.
Vermin's amusing. And at the end of the day, I of course I did not support Vermin for president.
one delegate did in my state, and I don't know who it was, but one delegate did support it. I'm like, really?
Oh man, you get that one vote, and you're like, who
You get
the
that
F
one-
voted for?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Somebody is
but
disenfranchised.
I think I'm going to say one last couple things to Paxton's question. It was I wrote a little blog-ish post on, where I had an analogy called the train to liberty. We're all riding a train together, and all I know is we're all on this train together. I might get off at a different station where I'm comfortable. People like, the anarchists are going to wait for the train to run off the track and roll over into the weeds.
Yeah.
And that's what
And then
they're
we're
going to
gonna
call LiberTopia. But right now we have so far to go before the first stop. Everybody
Yeah.
just chill. Unless you're an anarcho-communist, you just get off now.
Oh, what's your problem with the communists?
It depends on
Communism
whether they're
over
like.
I think
I'm
it's
okay
the
with them
aggression.
if they don't want to use force, but if they do want to use force, then we go round and round. Like, because there are I've met quite a few now. Like, I used to be like, fuck those ANCOMs, fuck them. I don't.
Yeah,
fuck
you were
these
still in that phase when
motherfuckers.
I used to be an
But,
ANCOM.
like,
Thanks a lot, Mike.
I have over a period of time met some really cool ANCOMs that are just like, nah, dude, like I'd really like for you to fucking change your mind. But that's like what some like some people are like, well, they're not real ANCOMs though, and I'm like, well, ANCOMs,
And they might not be.
who knows?
I mean, like, but
They're
then what
not.
are they if they're not what they call themselves? Who
They're
are you to dictate a
redheaded-
label?
They're political redheaded stepchildren.
I
Who
coined a
knows?
term I call classical Marxists. And that's what I'm calling a lot of these guys and gals or whatever who are like, hey, I'm a libertarian socialist. We believe in all the same things you do, except private property. I'm like,
Oh, that private personal property
wow.
shit confuses me. I'm like, why do you have to add so
That
many
was just-
extra steps?
It's like that gif of the dude with the chart, and he's going all over the place. This is how it
Yeah.
works. That's immediately what I go to when I hear about that.
That's Charlie.
Mhm.
So if I have property
Yeah.
that I can't physically carry or put in my one tiny house, it's up for grabs, apparently.
I mean, like, if you're in the commune, you could just not join them and tell them to go fuck themselves. What are they going to do? Stop you? They could try.
Right.
You're armed.
Sure.
We have a saying back in fatherland, never trust
Oh, now
a
it's the
communist
fatherland. Where
with
the
your
fuck are you
private
from?
property. It will, they'll take it, They'll put on a good face, like, hey, I'm a libertarian too, but, never trust them, Always,
I've got
push them away. Yes.
I've got a love-hate relationship with libertarians because, like, we all agree on so many things to a certain point, obviously, and that's
Except for the things that we
and,
don't.
like, I really like working with them and stuff. And one of the reasons why I like working with them is because, like, we have to get to a point where people can learn how to do this themselves. Because the majority of people don't fucking know how to do things, without Big Daddy Gooberman, and they just, we're gonna need that stepping stone and everything in order to even get close to what we believe in, just like with your train thing and everything like that. But there are some days when y'all are too slow, and it drives me fucking
Oh my god.
like,
So
oh
I want to be
man,
on the
I'll
rules
come
committee.
stomping in and like grab Paxton and be like, fucking kill me. Just fucking kill me. And he's like, what? And I was like, I was talking to other libertarians. And he's like, uh-oh.
Well, it's kind of funny because, the LP as a big tent of sorts is where a lot of political misfits end up because we're the biggest non-duopoly game in town at this point. If you're a theocrat or a theonomist, you might join the Constitution Party, I guess. Or if you're,
Well,
It's
the
never
Constitution
like-
Party broke up.
Oh, they did?
There's like now a Peace and Liberty Party or something like that. Peace and Freedom, or Life and Peace Freedom Party or something like that. That I saw the leader of the party is sort of like if you combine a little hint of cultural socialism with far right economicism. So they're like for social
Thank you for
programs, but they're basically far right on economy. So they
They're
broke
like
away.
paternalist conservatives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they broke away. So Montana, Idaho, I think West Virginia, a few states in the South, Constitution Party broke away, and now they have their own party. And it's not getting a lot of recognition simply because they don't have enough states to promote it. So there is technically a Constitution Party, but not on a national level, just on a state by state level.
Get wrecked, scrubs.
I don't know.
Well, like,
Here's
I
the
just
irony.
know, yeah.
Here's the irony. I am a staunch Calvinist Presbyterian who will have nothing to do with theonomistic political movements. I'm kind of in that camp that says we are libertarian because we are Christian. This is the only real way to preserve religious freedom.
Have you
is
heard
to
the
not have
Libertarian-
another.
Yeah. Have you heard the Libertarian Christian Institute then?
No, but there are several groups that I'm not really aware of in that regard. There's a group on Facebook of all places, where all the boomers live, and Gen Xers who are like me. But
A little bit slow.
there's a community on there that's full of some super thinkers, like theologians, and I'm not a super theologian, but I like to come in and kind of carry the libertarian end of it and keep people apprised of what's going on in the party and stuff like that. And a lot of people like that, they're like, we don't like the party at all. And I'm like, but we kind of want to participate if we want to make this move. And the LP at the end of the day is a vehicle in an imperfect and horrible broken system to try to change hearts and minds and the culture. And if we don't recapture that culture, what was and I'll never remember who said this, but if the heart of the people isn't for liberty, there's no court and no Congress that will save the Constitution. So if we don't have, if our ideas aren't winning, and I'm not saying they're not, because I think they can, I think they do. That's the only reason I'm doing any of this. That's the only reason I'm a delegate. And secondarily, to try to keep the LP from going off the rails, to be honest with you, because there's a lot of
weirdness.
There's a lot of strange folk.
Like, I'm a strange person, and I'm like,
Yeah, we
wow,
have
there's
names,
really strange
dude.
shit going on in here.
Well, I'm talking about delegates and like party people that have been in the party for years that I would have never thought I've been lining up on the same side of anything with. And like lately, I'm agreeing with people that are like honestly dildo waving protesters. And I'm like, hey, she's right. And I would never have been in a room with her, before this, but here we are. Standing up for the bylaws or whatever it is.
Like, how's y'all's Pride Month starting out? Do y'all have?
I don't even know it was Pride Month. I'm because of the coronavirus. I think everything is sort of like on hold, at least here in town. And there's been some flags and some posts, but nothing major in terms of sort of. If it's not dealing with the BLM specifically, no one's really going out and celebrating whatever they want to celebrate.
What that birthday thing I saw.
Mike, why are you trying to inject your identity politics? Yes, I get it. I'm Mike. I am fucking gay. Look at me. Like, do you want
We're
to
just
wave
one
around?
step closer to gay space communism, guys. Let's keep moving.
About how you guys get jiggy with it, rainbow style in Oklahoma. Like, is there stuff there?
There is. I want to say it's mostly centered on the south side, like Norman, because that's where OU is.
Yeah.
I'm a north side guy. I'm the worst person to ask about what's going on with like a pride event. But
I can't ask Paxton. He doesn't effing know.
Yeah, I don't care enough.
Paxton is like
fuck your
gays,
pride,
they
fuck
exist.
their pride, fuck everybody's pride. Pride's fucking sin.
What hashtag white pride, right, Paxton?
Well,
Oh my god.
Hashtag no lives matter.
I already say enough bad things
No
online.
lives
Like,
matter.
Yeah, that's literally my philosophy. Like, I think humans have this fucking identity crisis of like we're all fucking important. Like, fuck you. Like, you're a fucking nothing in the grand scheme of the universe. You're not important. You're living this life to live this life. That's fucking it. That's the end of it. Like that there is no great grand scheme. You are not an important individual. You're not changing the universe. Even if you become the president and conquer the entire world, that's fucking nothing in the grand scheme of things. You're still a blip in the universe. So the
So
whole
you-
fact that your
Yeah.
life matters,
Stop
your
Did you
being
life
just-
important.
matters, your
You're just a
identity
stupid
matters.
monkey.
Well,
You
I
sound
don't
like me
really,
after I came out of an Ecclesiastes study.
I don't really.
I don't even know what that means, but
I don't
I
really.
assume
Oh,
he
Jay,
agrees.
you and I would get along in that regard.
TLDR, Ecclesiastes, the entire book is nothing. We are all just dust in the wind.
Yeah, nothing
That's
really
the whole
exists.
thing.
We don't
Honestly,
exist.
I don't see what there is to be proud about right now or what we're fighting for as a people. Like, I don't even really call myself LGBT because I'm kind of like embarrassed these days. And it's not because I don't like gay people
Mom's
or anything
embarrassed.
like that. It's just like, what the fuck? Y'all are fighting for shit I don't believe in now at this point. Like,
Oh my god, you're so homophobic,
healthcare
Mike.
laws and weird shit like that.
Mike's
and
a
I'm like,
race
I don't
traitor.
even know who the. Oh yeah, no, I'm a gender traitor and all sorts of shit some days. But fuck it, like I like
YOLO swag.
being gay and shit. I guess.
You
but,
even
like,
want gay-space communism, bro?
I thought it
mean,
had to be automated.
I've been
Automated
It
luxury
is
gay-space
a
communism.
luxury
part of
automated
the
gay space
alphabet for a
communism.
really,
Yes.
really long time and shit. And I don't really feel it's just a month. I
Mike,
do
are you
like.
not in your mold? Have you not fit into your mold?
I guess not, but
I
like
thought they had a box for you that you had to
I
get
like
in.
rainbows. I made my sign rainbow.
That's gay.
It is.
Except
gay.
you got rid of the blue.
I'm gay. I like rainbow. Oh yeah, I did. I took the blue out because I'm that
Way too much
angry at
color.
cops.
Do you think
Fuck
that's why I
cops.
hate all the colors you put on things because I'm not a gay?
I did. I painted the blue out.
Like Mike
Paxton
tries to throw
kills-
colors on
Paxton kills
everything.
me. Paxton
Do
kills
what,
me.
Like
Paxton?
you fucking make a logo and you throw like 30 colors on. I'm like, this is terrible because it has color, and you're like, shut up, Paxton. You're just a rock. I'm like, no, you're a gay, and I think this is
We
why.
need to. You can't have too many colors at the
totally
same
true.
time, or else
But then I go-
unless the poor pleb's mind will be overwhelmed.
Then I go
So
over
the-
to like Dill and them, and I'm like, hey, help me, cause Paxton's dumb, and they're like, take like half of this shit out, and I'm like, okay.
So why
The
not
only-
just start that?
The only flag I'll be for is I'll take this from Reason TV did a skit about this on their Game of Thrones parody, but I sort of added to it. It's a porcupine humping a bunch of mined Bitcoin with a AR-14 in the background, AR-15. That was a mistake on purpose.
That was a funny joke and a meme.
That was funny. I laughed out loud.
Make a t-shirt out
LOL.
of that.
Because wasn't somebody said AR-14 at one point?
Joe
Some
Biden.
politician?
You know what?
Just
I'm
Okay.
making an
Biden.
AR-14 right now just so he can fucking ban it.
God.
It's just gonna be a gun that whenever you shoot it, it's a flag. It's like one of the Joker guns.
Yes,
with, like,
exactly,
The revolver where like the
exactly.
flag pops out and it says "fuck Biden," and he can ban that one.
He can ban the 3D
And I
printed
still won't
rifle.
give it to
I
the
haven't
buyback.
printed yet.
You know what I think would be cooler than a gay pride month though? I think a gay history month would be pretty cool.
But like,
Sounds
Mike,
gay.
you're
gays
getting
don't
greedy. You
deserve-
want
but
2
gays
months?
don't have a history, aren't they? A new
2
thing
months.
because I didn't
No,
hear
no,
about
I
them
just
until
want to
now.
replace it. I just want to replace it because
You
like
could have
all these people out there being like, yay, gayness, they don't fucking know the history.
just said a Greek history class, Mike.
I mean, it's all Greek to me, buddy.
Hey,
Soon we'll
about-
all be Chinese now.
How about
Oh, that's
History
such a
Month?
good
Could we just have a
point.
History Month, maybe
Where
in
everybody just
school?
learns history because like that
Maybe
in
doesn't
school
happen
or
something?
anymore.
We can just not have public schools anymore, you
No,
know?
I
we
would-
can't.
I
can
would
have
we
it
just
Own
not
public
exist
schools.
anymore?
They're gonna burn all the history books if we make.
Get rid of the
You know?
Department of Education, you know? Like, I would protest for that. I would protest for ending the military-industrial complex. You know, I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. I don't hear a lot of people talking about, hey, you know, there are a lot of police forces using private taxpayer-funded programs that are instigators of police brutality. You don't hear about sports stadiums being taxpayer-funded. You know, you don't hear about corporations, especially Amazon and Walmart, getting a lot of government funding because, you know, hey, a lot of politicians are corrupted. So, I mean, until these get in the larger lexicon of the public, I'm just going to sit back. I don't see myself flying a flag for pride or for a particular race.
I'll fly a history flag, though.
I'm not a white nationalist. I'm just an individualist. And I think everybody should be too.
Yeah, fuck other white
Listen,
people, too.
I just want
They
to say,
suck.
you've inspired me, and I will tell you my secret. I have a big flag with a picture of my face on it, and it's flying everywhere in my home, you know. All of my flags, they just have a big picture of me to glorify the greatness that is myself.
It's sort of like the Instagram influencers. They have a profile picture. What they do is they take pictures of themselves and protest and hashtag everything. So there's a couple of memes around about some Instagram models and Snapchat models that go around and sort of there's different levels of these particular models. What they'll do is go in front of a protest or an event, take a picture of it, then sort of get the keywords in, and so that's how they get clicks and sponsors. No one talks about that.
Black Mirror was supposed to be fiction.
We have
no. Black Mirror is reality, Jay.
That's what I'm saying.
Today. It's today.
Hey, so speaking of dystopian futures, let's bring up what I've been waiting to get to. What the fuck are we going to do? Just like in general, because if Trumpster wins, there goes the First Amendment. We can't protest, we can't speak, we can't really like breathe without paying him. And if Biden wins, he's going to take away our AR-14s. Either way, I'm both a highly political person and a guy who likes guns. So what the fuck are we gonna do about this? Because
let me be.
I can confirm that he's up in the middle of the night, fucking messaging me.
Yes, he is.
Like I'm fucking terrified,
and I'm like, oh my god, you need to calm down. I can't do this right now.
Your boy can't even vote yet, and I'm being like, my entire future is being shaped by what's
being decided. You know,
doing.
in this election, Maxwell's life is being decided this election. So, yeah, you know, as a person who sympathizes with Gen Z and millennials, you know, I see your future, and I
what
would,
future?
Are you
I
a
don't
fortune
have a
teller?
anymore.
Yeah, I would like to decrease the voting age for local elections to 16.
Yeah, that would be
That would
great.
help him.
Well,
But here's the thing, especially for somebody who wants to eventually get into the firearm industry, like, honestly, Biden used to be the lesser of two evils, but once I've really read into his gun policy, I like literally throw up in my mouth, like the amount of ignorance, and I'm like, can we just have nobody win?
Can we just
That's
have
what I
Noda
keep
be
saying.
president?
Nobody listens to me.
Because here's the thing, either nobody wins and nobody becomes president, or we all lose. So it's either no one wins or everyone loses. So what the fuck are we gonna do?
Maxwell, you sound like a violent extremist. You need to chill out a little bit.
That's already
Booga
taken.
fucking booga.
Victoria.
All right.
Victoria's already taken it. Paxton has that a title. It's already taken Victoria.
I know Mike and I have talked about this a tiny bit, but let me just say to everybody out there, if you think it's time to boog, and I didn't say it's time to boog, it's not time to boog.
1 second, let me just like clip around the it's not.
Thing about it,
Boog, everybody, the bear said so.
Don't get shot.
So, Jay, when is the right time?
the thing about
when
it
is the right time? The right
It's
time
like
was last
obscenity.
week.
I'll know it when I see it.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
The correct time for
Maxwell
change
used
was
the word
last week.
spook earlier, and you know, he was like, "Why do a violent revolution? Get yourself fucking killed. Just you know, just sit around
know,
and
it's pretty
wait for
badass.
shit to collapse or whatever."
I will point out that all is not dire and lost if you actually look at trends in the larger country. Because, oh, surprise, surprise, the Armed Bear Caucus, what's my one area of focus above all else? Second Amendment advocacy and or tracking of bills and such. So I always like
Bill
to point out
Clinton?
okay, so Clinton, he signed Joe Biden's terrible bill in 1994.
Good
And
segue.
what happened to the assault weapons ban? Nothing.
Died.
So all I'm going to say is 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you had a handful of states that had concealed carry on the books. Now look where we are now. Oklahoma went from concealed carry to open carry with a card to no card. If you look at the number of states that had shall issue concealed carry in 1995 versus 2020,
Well, yeah.
it's
our
all but like 2.
constitutional carry states are growing.
If you
in
just look
number.
at this as a brush fire that took off over the whole country, for the Second Amendment, we're not actually in that bad of a position. I don't think. Now, can it be lost? Sure. I
Yeah.
mean, Congress can pass a crap law.
Fuck
anytime.
ITAR. I just wanted to say that.
that's-
Fuck ITAR. Continue.
In as much as I will never actually encourage anybody to break any laws, federal or state or otherwise, I don't know how ITAR is enforceable.
It's
Anymore.
not, but I
So-
don't want to pay money and I want to stay legal.
Well, depending on your state, you may be able to own a handgun or rifle without actually being able to purchase one.
I want to
Figure that
become
one
a
out.
manufacturer. So
Oh, you want to become a
yeah,
class
that's my goal.
3? Okay.
Yeah, like I get a class 7 FFL, get my shit rolling.
I actually know a guy that did that, and he actually built and or purchased like brand new H&K UMP stuff for demo. He actually does this kind of thing all the time. It's really interesting. Clearly, it's all unconstitutional that he has to have a license to do any of it, but here we
Tyranny
are.
papers. It's all
Right.
tyranny
Tyranny
papers.
But if you
papers.
look at as far as the popularity of guns right now, is it an all-time high? Has anybody tried to buy anything other than a hunting weapon the past 3 months?
I'm trying to build one. So that's my problem, is that 3D printing guns, you can't just download blueprints and then just say to anybody who has a 3D printer, this is what I want to build. Here's
Plastics
my,
for pussies. Get a mill.
Have you looked at Ivan Trollworks? He has that new U-bolt.
I've heard
design.
about that, but I haven't
There's a-
researched that.
You go to the hardware store and you buy a standard U-bolt of a certain size, and then use that as a frame support for
Okay.
a printed AR lower. And
ARs
then you
are
order
too
the rest
much.
from Palmetto State Armory.
Hmm.
There's also
Wars.
something I posted in the Discord server. Certain air pellet rifles are becoming as powerful as some handguns. They're totally legal, they're totally constitutional, and there's no identification as them being designated as a firearm.
Right. The ATF won't track it. Some states, like, don't do it in New Jersey, because New Jersey is basically the DPR.
Yeah,
Okay,
well, I'm in
of
Alabama,
states.
so it doesn't really
So in
matter.
Alabama,
the
you're
D-
probably
The
safe.
DPRNJ.
DPRNJ.
But yeah, I'm
Rip
just
New
like looking
Jersey.
at.
I know
yeah.
my family's from there. Hi, my family, but you're fucked.
Yeah. Well, Tim Pool is also moving away from there to get the
Yeah,
weapon.
it's having a hard
What type of weapon? He got a nice, really expensive weapon from Crowder, and I'm trying to remember. It starts with an S.
I can't remember what it
Um,
was either. But
not
yeah,
an
he's hell
SKS.
trying to get
Love
a
those
gun.
No, if it
SKS.
wasn't SKS, I would be coming in my pants
No,
right now. I love that
it
gun.
probably costs more than $20, Paxton.
But no, this weapon probably is at least $1,000, if not more than $1,000. Really
Then it
high
better
end.
be a
high
North
end
Korean
weapon.
SKS.
Very good.
Those things are
Christ.
fucking expensive.
It's like the SAG, I think.
The Saiga?
SAG. The what?
A Saiga, maybe?
Yeah, that's it.
Saiga AK?
Kind
I
of
think-
wild to think
It's
that
a Russian.
walking around armed like that, though, ain't it?
Hmm?
It's kind of weird thinking about the beanie walking around armed out there.
No, it's a good thing. He's become more and more radical, just like the rest of us.
It is a good
is.
thing, but it is weird.
Paxton, you were born radical. Paxton was never a lib. He was always Chad and Cap.
That's such
No.
bullshit. He used to be a socialist.
I used
Wait,
to be a
really?
communist. Yeah.
Yeah, he used to be
What?
a communist.
Yeah,
Okay, we have
socialists
to talk about this later.
were fucking light core to me. It's like, oh, okay, you guys don't want to force your demands. All right. Pussies. All right. That being said, I think one of the biggest differences between the libertarians and anarchists is the realistic viewpoint of the boogaloo actually happening. To me, I don't think there is fixing anything. I don't think it's moral to continuously participate in a rigged system that we all know isn't going to be fucking changing anytime soon. Definitely not in our lifetime. And I think that is why the boogaloo to me is a realistic, if not necessary option. It's not necessarily a want, but I think it's a necessity. I think it's something that we need to remind our leaders that it's definitely possible for us to get tired of their bullshit and come knocking at their houses and take over the streets and blockade their
In
own.
Minecraft.
No, fuck Minecraft. I'm
Minecraft.
talking about right the fuck now.
Minecraft Boogaloo.
I mean, whenever neighborhoods get tired of them saying that this is what you have to do and saying you have to comply with this, fuck that noise. Fuck you. Fuck your goddamn. This is the time you got to go in your house, or we're gonna start rolling down your neighborhood and shooting at you. That to me is absolute bullshit, and I think that's the biggest difference between the libertarians and anarchos. To me, it is absolutely vital that we remind our leaders and have it definitely be a possibility for us to be able to fight and die for liberties and freedoms. And I don't know if the Libertarian Party, the vast majority of the Libertarian Party, is willing to do that. I think when push comes to shove, a lot of them are going to go back to the Republican and Democratic roots of licking the boot and saying, you know what, this isn't worth dying for. I think a lot of people want to talk the talk and don't want to walk the walk. And that's, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you think, you know, if push did come to shove and said, hey, we're going to take all your AR-14s, do you think that you're going to...
Part of Jefferson's famous quote about the Tree of Liberty is he also said, God forbid we should go 20 years without such a rebellion.
It's been what, 200 something
said,
now?
That said, you never want to say never. I guess it's just from the perspective of being a little older and having done that for the state at one point. There's unless you see the elephant, I guess is that I don't want to sound condescending at all. I don't want to say that your view is irrelevant or not valid because you haven't fought anybody or done anything.
Okay, boomer.
But I was just saying, hey, this boomer will put an HE round in your toilet.
Hey, do you have a destructive devices license for that shit?
I think that some of
I didn't need a license back in the day.
But I'm not gonna lie, like I've been personally genuinely afraid more lately, especially with the president telling people that anarchists are violent extremists.
Let Jay finish his point first.
Let me point out, I honestly, in my core, do not believe you are going to get the 82nd Airborne or the 1st or 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force to march on American citizens.
But
no, they'll be with us, right?
Well, I'm not saying they'll be with you either. I'm saying there's going to be a lot of scared kids that are like, what? What?
I'm
when
not
the entire military top brass, when General James Mattis said, this is bull crap. Sorry, I swore I wouldn't cuss today. But anyway, Mattis in so many words said, this isn't what we do. I don't know if you're, and I know Jim Mattis has taken a lot of heat because, you know, he's a warmonger or a statist or a war criminal or any of that. And I'm like,
I had to walk around, you know, the last week watching peaceful protests, knowing and seeing fucking, you know, pretty armed and scary looking National Guard members on the rooftops and stuff. And it was completely unnecessary. It fucking scared me. And with the president talking the way
of course it scared you. That's what they were trying to do.
And like, I sit there going, well, I mean, if something like this happens, surely the LP would try to help us. They wouldn't just let them take us or something, would they? And it's kind of scary.
I'm not worried about the army at all. I'm worried about the police.
We
see the police killing people every day.
We have the left turning on the Boogaloo boys and saying that they're fucking bad shit. And then we have the right turning on Antifa and all anarchists and shit like that. And it's just really kind of
people don't know. People don't know what any of it means. And all they hear is is what's on Channel 4, you know? or what's in the
That's all
paper,
they watch.
so to speak, whatever it is. Oh yeah, I heard these anarchists are marching. Well, hope they can restore order. You know, that people want to feel safe. And I don't know. I guess I'm a little more sanguine that there is always going to be a liberty remnant in the American population. And two, like I said, people with the whole Jim Mattis thing, that was another thing I wanted to talk about, because I wrote a little spiel on my Armed Bear Caucus that, you know, or on Twitter rather, sorry, I'm getting my social media mixed up. Nick Sarwark, evidently, you know, he tweeted something like, hey, James Mattis want to come into the party because he spoke out against Trump. Everybody lost their minds. He's a war criminal and all this stuff. And I'm like, you stop right there.
No, come on.
If he's a war criminal, I'm a war criminal, and hundreds of thousands of other people are war criminals who get, spoiler alert, we're not war criminals.
Well, I
in a
don't
meaningful
think he's a war
sense.
criminal.
I have
think
mad
he's
respect
a
for Mattis.
libertarian,
He's
you
a
know?
great
This
a
is the
great
guy-
guy from all I've been able to tell. I'm not sure about inviting him into the party.
Like,
Well, he
But
didn't
definitely a useful
say
ally.
anything about it. Mattis's politics have been a mystery since he's been in
Well,
office, or
If
he's been in the
decided
military.
He was libertarian and said he was. I'd believe him, but like he
I
hasn't
honestly
said
think
that.
he never married. He was married to the Marine Corps. It's one of these weird classic, they called him the warrior monk. So all I know is it irritates the hell out of me when I see people saying, oh, he's an authoritarian war criminal. I'm like, yeah, that authoritarian war criminal just threw down for peaceful protesting and said he would absolutely not, he doesn't approve of using the military on American soil. And this is a guy that I know exactly 0 Marines, former Marines, or members of any other branch who think he is not like the best we've had in decades. So people need to kind of understand why is he so revered in military culture?
I just
Maybe
want
because
to
he
point out
deserves respect.
he's one of the few generals that didn't want us going into Afghanistan doing the military occupation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Spoken out against that.
I'm not sure if
quite a
that was
bit.
political as much as like nobody gets to invade Afghanistan.
Well, no. It wasn't even about
just a
that. It
bad
was
idea.
just the whole matter of their orders were to like go there, but they had no orders on like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. And there's multiple articles. The fucking papers that were released. I don't think it wasn't Panama.
The Afghanistan
Panama
papers.
Yeah,
there was-
Afghanistan
there was
So
an
papers.
many
Afghanistan
goddamn
paper.
papers. The government
In
needs
those
to stop
papers,
writing
they,
stuff down because we always find it eventually. Please just
Afghanistan-
remember this shit. It'll
and the
save you a
Damn
lot of
kids.
trouble.
in the Afghanistan papers, it specifically mentions his viewpoint on this about being how it was completely useless. We had no idea what we were doing there, no idea how to stay there, but they just told them to keep staying there. But they didn't know why, they didn't know how, they didn't know how efficient it was going to be. Well, they knew it wasn't going to be efficient, but they still stayed there.
I mean, basically, they were in
And they're
there
still
to
saying
defeat ISIS. Not ISIS, but
Al-Qaeda.
Al-Qaeda and the Taliban.
The Taliban.
Whichever one we made, whichever one. Who knows?
Whoever
has
one
the
of Osama
crates
bin
of weapons
Laden's
that were
group.
mailed to them by the CIA a couple decades ago, those ones.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't even hear Osama bin Laden's name or Snowden's name or Manning's name. What about, the aftermath of destroying Afghanistan? Taliban's taken it over. Do you hear about Manning in her plight, in her grand jury injunction to where she just was held unconstitutionally for months? Or Snowden, he can't come back to this country, and Trump just forgot about him. He doesn't know about
He's
him.
stuck in
That was one
fucking
time.
Russia. Where else could we what's a worse place to be in besides
So-
fucking Russia? It doesn't even
The
have
United
good
States.
weather. At least
The
Cuba
smart
has
play,
good weather.
the smart play would have been for Barack Obama to say, you have immunity and a pre-pardon. Just come home and let's debrief you so that we can figure out what the hell happened. Because part of my little quirk as a libertarian is I still think America's a thing. And I don't want us going to war for no good reason, but I am not going to say there is never, ever a reason. And I think after 9/11, however we think that played out, however we think that we may have had some blowback that led up to that, I think going into Afghanistan initially for a few months and just smacking down all the people that that actually perpetrated it, maybe looking for Osama bin Laden, you can make that case, but sitting there for 18 years.
And when
We're
are we
not
going to
gonna
invade
go
Saudi
I don't know
Arabia for
anyone.
their involvement again?
And then we find
I didn't
out
hear about those plans.
exactly what, to your point, we find out who are our friends. Nobody. I mean,
the Jews were kind of chill with us. The Israelis, they had our
Osama
back.
bin Laden was hiding where? In Pakistan.
Yep.
He had been there for months.
Yep.
Just
And we sat
they
on
had
that
no
intel.
idea. They had no way of knowing, I'm sure.
They just built a giant compound to his
There was just a
exact
compound
specifications.
with all kinds of security and people coming and going
We
at all
sat
times.
on that intel, and all the old military equipment that the military did not want, it was spread around police departments around the country.
Right.
And they
Because of
developed
drugs.
unique
Militarized
riot gear. They had unique Humvees that are military grade, weapons that are military grade. And now, because of certain state laws and municipal laws where we call the police for everything, we have this incident with a black male who cares about his past. I don't really care. That had been called because he had a fraudulent $20 bill, and a police with a lot of military experience. And the police department, the Minnesota Police Department's gotten a lot of funding from the military, with Barack Obama and Trump sort of diving into that, of releasing or sort of letting some departments have military gear. They have this attitude of everybody's an enemy, just like the military. It's a lot of police are trained in military tactics now. So we have this quote illegal act unquote, and now we're at this position to where the only thing now is to get police reforms that are far so beyond what I even thought would be possible, defunding the police. Well, that's grand, that's okay, but something's going to come out of it if you don't have a plan. Just like defunding and reducing Iraq to rubble, ISIS came out of that. So in essence, to make this point as brief as possible, we're at a point to where we are defunding the government like the libertarians want, but we're not getting through to the protesters. Say, well, this is how you defund them. We give the ammunitions and guns to private property owners, business owners, and the like, and let them defend themselves on their own private property. But they missed that point completely. And now we're at a point to where we have police brutality and the rioters, and that's all we got. The protest has been lost, the message has been lost, and now businesses after the fact have been lost too. So we're not,
and the big problem with the
mentioning
military
that.
is they're getting out of the wrong things and into the wrong, like we're still in Afghanistan for some goddamn reason.
Exactly. We're still
and yet
there.
when we're defending the people who fought alongside us, the Kurds, we just leave them to dry. Why don't we leave Afghanistan and maybe honor our agreements with other people? Why are we getting out of the wrong things? They're doing all the wrong fucking things.
I wish I had an answer for you. I was in Desert Storm and we blew up a bunch of Iraqi stuff. Pretty much
As you
destroyed
do.
their ability to wage war against, Rhode Island at that point.
Hey, don't underestimate Rhode Island.
Well, all I'm saying is that we broke a lot of other things. After we got back, I was like, why don't we just draw a line around northern Iraq and call it Kurdistan and put an embassy in Mosul, and across the street could be the Exxon office. They would be okay with that, and that was in 1992. But what we did was a no-fly zone, and we prolonged this, and we kind of dipped our toe in the water. And we just completely annihilated this country's military, and now we want to be sensitive.
I mean, what it obviously is the military industrial complex. We are selling weapons of war. If we're at a constant state of war, we can consistently send soldiers over there, train the soldiers, buy new gear, keep the military war machine moving. It keeps us at a constant state of readiness, and it also makes it to where the war industries are constantly profiting.
I wonder if you're missing something, Paxton, and
no, I'm not.
that
I'm
is
perfect.
no. Well, I think creating Kurdistan would be very unpopular. Part of it is because of other entanglements that we have. Same reason when we pulled out.
Fuck them.
There's other powers at play, and we're not people say oh yeah, Kurdistan, justice, Like,
Fuck Turkey,
fight
fuck
the
Iraq, fuck Syria.
genocide.
Give these people their goddamn freedom
Yeah.
already.
I mean, ideally, that was the argument. It's
Get the
like,
fuck
this is
out
a
of these
dictator. He's genociding people. Never again. Genocides.
time.
We're going to go in, roll in, and get freedom. But that's not really what we're doing.
Well,
now.
I think the Kurds are
Sadly.
a little bit of a special case in that they're not just asking for some white knight savior to come in and give them their freedom.
They're
We've already
fucking
set it
fighting.
up, yeah.
I think we let them off the chain a little bit, and they were able to do it almost themselves after we kind of pulled out of Iraq. But what we
And then we
could
let
have
Turkey
done
fuck
is
us.
just said, hey, we're putting an embassy in Mosul,
Mhm.
and we are going to the UN, and we are dragging their asses, and we're going to say, hey, Kurdistan, send you a guy to the UN or gal, whatever, and we'll seat you next to us and dare them to not recognize you. I mean, I don't know how everyone feels about Israel, but 1948, what country was the first to recognize Israel as a sovereign state? It was the United States, right?
Yeah.
Because we
Or
have
was it
pull.
Britain? I can't remember. I think it might have been Britain. Are you sure it was the U.S.?
I think it was the U.S. and then Britain, because
I'm
Britain
just afraid.
they shot
Britain
the
made
British.
them. So like, the British were the ones who kind of like said like, okay, you guys can.
Britain
do
made
that.
all the countries. What do you mean?
Britain made
Britain-
us. Thank you, Daddy Britain.
Did
The-
they though?
I'm afraid that we're going to do the same thing to, like, if a Kurdistan were ever to become a thing, I think we would do the same thing that we've done to Israel and essentially make them into this rabid pit bull that can completely destroy all neighboring regions, just with massive amounts of funding, and then get to a point where they aren't wanting to do the things that we want them to do, and that causes other problems.
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
it could be
yeah.
the opposite direction. They could be another fucking Kosovo.
Yeah,
Like,
Paxton,
there's no
like,
way to tell.
Yeah, but
if
fuck
are you
us.
become an
suggesting that we have a
Israel or
client state like Israel has no opinions of their own, just sort of
No,
is on
that's-
tour?
That's the whole problem
It's
with
very
Israel.
based, Paxton, of you to make
The
other
problem with
countries.
Israel is that they
They're Jews.
were at a point where they were a client state by all definitions. They were definitely 100% a fucking client state. We were bankrolling them, and that was the whole reason for them for existing for many years. We trained their military, we gave them their weapons, we gave them their technology. The reason Israel exists is because the West decided to bankroll them. Now it's got to the point where they've been bankrolled so much that they are basically unstoppable in the Middle East. I mean, we've literally seen that twice, where they've absolutely fucking roll stomped every single nation around them in a blink of the fucking eye.
That
to an
tiny little
embarrassing
strip
degree.
fucking curb stomped Egypt.
Yeah, Egypt and 5 other countries with massive military movements there. I mean, these weren't small military occupations. These were massive, organized militaries with experience at that. These places have just recently got their independence in a lot of these areas, and they have experienced soldiers, experienced generals. They knew what the fuck they were doing, especially in Middle Eastern territories like this, and they still got fucking just absolutely destroyed. So if we've done that with Israel, we're going to do the same thing with Kurdistan, because there's no other opportunity, because they're going to be so weak for so long, and eventually they're going to get to a point where they're too strong. And then we're basically just repainting the map of Israel all over again, just like we did the first time. That's caused this whole mess to begin with.
But I still believe that, especially with the other, like with them being entered into the UN and everything, I feel like that would get so much resistance from if it was Kurdistan.
Fuck the UN.
Honestly, I feel like we wouldn't be able to overcome the outside pressures against them, and they would just become a somewhat recognized, somewhat state that doesn't really exist, except sometimes it does.
That's
It would.
fine. Who gives
So-
a shit if the UN acknowledges you?
So-
Fuck the UN.
Forget the UN for a second. If you had gone with the J plan in 1992, ISIS wouldn't have existed.
We could have done a lot of
J
things.
plan,
that
like
wouldn't have existed.
specifically your plan, or is that an actual
Well,
operation?
okay, so you effectively, when the Iraqi government had a Kurdish autonomous region. They basically
For a long
split the
time.
baby, right? So no, I mean that's the way it's going now, right? The Kurds are essentially self-governing anyway. It just took
With a big
20
fat
more years.
asterisk.
It took all this time before we would actually acknowledge it. If we'd have acknowledged it in 1992, their
And-
industry would have had some time to mature. We could, and to be clear, the monkey business shenanigans, we don't need to be doing that. We need free trade with these countries.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
goods.
One thing I was researching that no one ever brings up, because it's either got to be a Palestine or Israel or showcase, like a 2-state solution or a 1-state solution. The only solution I will be in that area is what I call a 0-state solution or multi-state solution. Where if it's a 0-state solution, there is no Palestine, there is no Israel. Anybody within those borders do not have citizenship to either Israel or Palestine. They're individuals. They can select what other country they want to be a citizenship of, but they don't have any citizenship to Palestine or Israel. The other end is other countries surrounding those countries of Palestine and Israel, not US or UK or any other country, but those surrounding only Palestine and Israel, divvy up that country and in equal parts to where they become citizens of like Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt.
Better
That would
idea. We
never
give
in a
it back
million
to the
happen.
British.
That would never in a million years happen. If Israel
oh
can
my
fight
God.
all those states
Oh,
at
excuse me.
once, why the fuck would they
Oh
be
my
able
God.
to just take
Give
the
it back to the British.
I don't
Nobody
recognize
beats the British
Israel and I don't
country.
recognize Palestine.
Yeah,
I think we should just get our hands out of it and
yeah,
let what will
giving it
happen
back to the
happen.
British. Best idea. British run everything better.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's give the 13 colonies back to the
Yes.
British. Give the Canadians back to. Let's just make the world the British Empire again.
Can we
That-
just
that was
talk
a
about
pretty dope
Liberia for a second? Like Liberia is the most wild thing. Like for the long, like I'm a history buff, and for the longest time, I've never heard of Liberia until I did independent research, and they were like, yeah, Liberia is a thing. Apparently, like slaves were fucking sent there and shit. Why the fuck do we not talk about Liberia? Why does no one talk about Liberia?
Because
Yeah, what do you
Liberia is
mean?
small,
What
unimportant,
faction?
and in Africa. Like literally the 3 things Americans don't care about.
Well,
Wow.
Maxwell's got a point there.
I think the
man.
kid
Ouch.
might be onto something.
But like really,
can't
it's
threaten
such a
us.
wild thing.
It
That-
can't threaten us. It's not large, and it's in Africa. Like,
Why-
do you
why is
see
there no
anybody talking
history
about the
on it, though?
Congo? Do you
Like,
see
I've
anybody
even
talking about
heard-
South Africa? And those
no,
countries
no,
are
no, no.
Tell me that you
Liberia
wanna do a
does
special
actually matter to
episode
the United
about
States.
Liberia.
No,
Does it, though?
it matters
a
to the United
similar
States
flag.
because it has history within the United States. Liberia exists because of the United States.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was uncolonized because of the United States.
No. It was basically colonized by us. We sent slaves there.
I mean, like, yeah, we didn't own it, but yeah.
That was the whole point. Is it was designed to be a slave state. If you don't want to be part of the United States, we'll move and get your own country back in Africa. And so they did. And we were like, oh,
We
fuck.
can't understand you. Go back to your country.
Speaking of African countries that Americans don't care about until they do, when
Lesotho.
when the Democrats had their take a knee moment there in the Capitol, and they
Yeah.
were wearing the Ashanti Kente
Oh,
God.
scrap,
yeah.
and I'm like, hold on, because I started reading about this, and I'm like, okay, the Ashanti were from Ghana, the Ashanti were huge slavers at a particular time, so
Ghana,
XD,
yes.
get
you
Ghana-
wrecked.
played yourself.
The Ghanese Empire was actually like the slave empire.
So
And
the
that's what a lot of
British,
people-
the British attacked them to end their slave trade.
Yeah.
Think,
And
this
take it
is
over.
why
And
we
we're
need to
gonna
bring back
wear
the British
wear
Empire.
that cloth of Ashanti royalty.
To be fair, most of the people that are of African descent don't even know that. That's the whole problem. Like if you talk about Native Americans and stuff like that, it's like, oh well, yeah, what tribe are you? You don't fucking ask African people that. No
Nope.
one knows what the fuck their tribe is. Because
Not
it's been
everybody,
fucking
Some people do. but-
99% of them. Fuck you, Mike. I have a
I mean,
fucking
like,
tribe
because
card
all
that's
those tribes are small
non-civilized
and
and it even has a
unimportant.
fucking name out of it. But what they will, because I've had this conversation with like he's like a black nationalist and stuff like that, but which doesn't make that much sense to me. Anyway, he says the whole reason why they don't do that type of thing is because, well, their entire identity was wiped from them whenever they were brought over here and slaves and stuff like that. Like
I mean, that's true.
you do remember that we had fucking re-education camps for the Americans after all the genocides that we had, right?
I mean, they
Like,
didn't.
what do you
but
mean? Like, I know you can do some basic fucking research and get some, like, if they can do DNA testing and find out which fucking regions you're from, I'm not understanding what the fuck you're talking about. I know it's a possibility. This has nothing to do with any of the stuff other than it really bothers me that we don't have a whole bunch of people saying like, yeah, I'm whatever, I'm from the Mali tribe or what the fuck ever. I think that'd be cool. We need African Americans that have African tribe cards. That's what we need.
Yeah, Paxton, you
Or
can
just
start
make
your
it the
own
British
tribe.
Empire.
Like I am part of a tribe Libtardo. You can be tribe Paxton, you know?
Or we could all stop carrying these fucking.
Tribes
no,
are
no.
a spook.
I like
Yeah,
it too much
IDs
because
are a
it's
spook.
historical, and I'll be like, oh fuck, dude, you were from the Mali tribe. That dude was the richest fuck, and it'd
Well,
be
You
a
know,
good time.
yeah, of
Paxton
course
J,
you would love it because you love history and shit like that.
I don't care
there's,
about the rest of the reasons. All
Speaking
the
of history,
like, oh yeah,
let's
it's
just
offensive
take a
or whatever.
hard left and go to something totally random.
You're just trying to trick people into fucking like fulfilling your weird fantasy fetishes. Of
I don't give a
history.
shit about them. I just want them to do the things I want them to do. What do you mean?
So,
So
you're
what
still
do
a
you guys
commie?
think about Somali pirates? I just want to like throw this out there and see if anybody bites. Somali pirates.
Yeah,
Shoot
base.
I haven't heard about them
Super
lately.
base. Yeah.
Weapons free.
True anarchy. In
Wait,
practice.
on
I
them or
understand.
by
Somali
them?
pirates.
Wait.
It's
Because
just
I
free
say
trade.
we arm the Somali
So-
pirates.
Every ship at sea flagged under the United States or whoever should be allowed to have a weapons locker. Problem solved. This whole sonic weapon or water cannon or all that stuff, whatever. You need a
Give 'em guns.
Modus. You just need a Modus or two, fore and aft. Pepper them with a few 50 rounds.
Didn't,
Get the
They're
message.
on fucking
But
float.
they're
like,
bad.
Huh?
It's not even metal boats. It's like the fucking dinghies and shit.
Yeah,
like,
that's why it
one
won't
shot,
take that much ammo. That's the great part.
That's
You just
Yeah,
need
but
to-
the pirates are so badass. They're just like, fuck everything. I'm gonna go take
at
that
me.
ship.
I'm
I don't
the
care
captain.
if I die.
I'm
Well,
the captain
the
now.
problem. What it really shows, though, if you
Captain.
really think about it, is just the desperate situation of Somalia and the absolute chaos that it's in. From my understanding, at least the last I read on Somalia, it's basically broken up into 3 different zones at this point because it's still in
Yeah.
an ongoing civil war. You have like the government, and then you have the government, and then you have the people that don't want to be involved in either government. So
Wait a minute. I think that says a lot. That there are some parallels there.
You got Al
Yeah,
Shabaab. You got Al Shabaab, which is sort of in the southern region of Somalia, the sort of ISIS.
yeah, you have Islamic
ISIS
extremists.
lookalikes. Then you got the real government of Somalia, the sort of the historical Somalia. Then you got Somaliland, who don't want to be part of the old Somalia or Al Shabaab. So yeah, you got 3 different governments trying to compete with each other. And then the anarchists on the coast are like, well, we don't want to be part of your governments. We're just going to go and steal some ships. And so they make a bad name for Somalia because that's all everybody
think-
sees.
I
think
mean,
make a
but like,
bad
think
decision.
about how desperate it is for Somalia. Yeah, but how desperate was Tom Hanks in that movie?
You know
I think
what?
calling them
Listen,
anarchists is kind of a stretch. I don't think they're
Paxton,
anarchists. I think
They're
Listen
they're
to
not.
me.
They just want to take over
Paxton.
boats and get money,
I
which
think
is
we should
actually,
You
you
were
know what? That's a
shaming-
pretty good idea.
Listen,
What is it,
Paxton, you were
Victoria?
shaming Jay for not doing the boogaloo. You talk yourself up. I am Paxton. I am a big violent extremist. Look at me in my white shirt. You know, I can be Paxton too. Look at me. You know, But yeah, no, seriously, yeah. You know, you talk violent extremists. Oh shit, you ain't ready for the boogaloo. Like me, Paxton. But yeah, there are a group of people doing boogaloo. They're called Somali pirates. So yeah, I think you're full of shit, Paxton.
And SKS is not going to do the job.
Yes, it will.
SKS
SKS will
SKS
always
will-
do the job. You take that
No,
shit back right now.
No.
Did you hear
Simonov
about,
was the fucking
Are you
G.
guys gonna
Not
go
against
the
on
pirates.
that again?
there's the weapon right there that we want.
I've got one of those.
We'll go through a fucking tree. I ain't worried about nothing.
I got one.
Motherfucker messages me
Who doesn't
in
have
the
one of
middle
those?
the
Country is it from?
morning to tell
Yeah,
me
who
that
doesn't?
I
Even-
quote,
I'm
That's
not
libertarian.
really allowed to buy
Hey,
a gun
to be a
myself,
member-
and I have one of those.
To be a member in good standing of the Libertarian Party, I think you have to have a gun show barrel bucket Mosin.
Yeah.
Did you
if-
hear
if-
about the Ghanese president or prime minister wanting
fucking no.
Oh, 'cause
the
it's
Black
in
Lives
Africa and
Matter
we're Americans.
protesters sort of like, hey, come over here. If you're unhappy with America, come over here and be happy in an actual country of your descent. And I'm
where
like,
they
well,
don't speak the language and where they're
is that
totally
well? They have
isolated from the
English as de
culture.
facto. It's not official, but it's de facto. But I'm like,
I mean, English and French
Isn't it
are
everywhere?
everywhere is de facto because of the British Empire and the
well,
French
not
Empire.
only
It's the
that,
British
the French
Empire.
Empire,
bro.
you know, there's a lot of colonization in Africa from France.
Yeah, but like, who
in the
cares about the
19th and
French?
early
Han
20th
Han.
centuries. Yeah, I'm just curious, you know, why don't a lot of African Americans consider Africa as part of their homeland? They argue that they're lost or that they want to reclaim their ancestral homelands, but they complain over here and call this country racist. It would be interesting to have them visit actual racist countries in Africa or in Asia.
like,
Now, I don't want to go so far as to say the 20th and some of the 21st, you know, mainly the 20th and 19th centuries were not super rosy if you had a lot of melanin in your skin.
That was one time.
It's
Let it
that
go.
one
it
time,
was like
100 million
constantly for
times.
hundreds and hundreds of years.
So
It was just
That
one
one
time.
time.
It only lasted 6 centuries, guys. Get over it.
I have a quick poll.
The
How
Ottoman
ma-
Empire lasted longer, guys. Let it go.
Oh my god.
What's the poll?
do you
Jack?
know why the Ottoman Empire ended?
Yeah, because not
The
enough slaves.
Polish.
Winged hussars, motherfuckers.
We
That
still
was, that was
get
like
the
the beginning of
wings.
the end.
No,
When they just
I
got yeeted in Vienna. Man.
This is why I'm always tired.
what,
You have
does
to talk to
everyone here?
history people.
I have a question, and I mean, everybody has, you know, black friends and all that. You just don't know them. They're from Canada.
I'm not
but-
racist. I have black friends.
But
I have lots of black
You don't
doesn't
know our
everybody
history,
kind of
man.
have to admit driving while black is a thing?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that, right?
No, I definitely 100% agree. Like if I've heard so many
Yeah.
horror stories from my black friends. Like I
Yeah.
speed all the time aggressively, like just 100%. No stop, fucking just go through everything. And I very rarely ever get pulled over. And if I do, it's usually like, hey sir, how you doing today? Can I get you some biscuits and gravy while I
Because you look white.
take it for you?
It's
Yeah,
that
exactly.
it's that Eddie Murphy sketch from Saturday Night
Well,
Live.
I
you
mean,
know.
I get hassled by cops, and I've been treated by shit.
Mike, that's because you look
shit by
weird.
cops all the time too. But
Because you look not white. You don't look
I
like you're
look like
black, but you look not white.
I look
I
like
look
someone you'll
like
see in
that.
church on Sunday
Well,
morning.
I'm just pointing out that like people who look like really weird, they also get treated like shit too. And like in Texas, like they used to really treat pagans like shit. Like they would pull all our shit out of the fucking car and throw it all over
No one
the
cares
fucking
about pagans,
ground
Mike.
and make all
Nobody
these
cares.
fucking
The three
comments
things
about-
Americans don't care about: you
Well, I'm just
and small insignificant African countries.
God damn it. Fuck you guys.
And Middle Eastern countries.
But
No,
I
we
mean,
care a lot about it.
like-
We care way too much about.
If
Middle
you
Eastern
can't
countries.
point it out on a map, you don't care about it. That is the rule.
I can.
What if you can
Bitch,
point
I
out
can
all
point
of
out
them?
120
personally-
or no
I care about all
121
of them.
out of the 196 UN recognized countries.
I
You can
personally
fight me,
believe that we
Paxton.
got a bunch of bullshit from cops because like there really wasn't as many minorities around in the area where I was at anyways. Because like it was mostly white in Texas and like in all the places I was at. So I mean like there just wasn't anybody that much. I remember in my fucking hometown when we got our first this and our first that of different people that were not white. It was fucking surreal.
Mike, let's talk about something that's really important. And Jay, I'm going to put you on blast here, so I hope you're prepared.
Oh Jesus.
Tell us
Prepare
how you
your
met the
ass.
other half.
Uh-oh. Yeah, hey, I want to know.
What?
We want to know
Wait,
how
I
you
can
He's
turn on
like,
my
which
camera.
one?
I'm gonna do that.
For the
Which
first
one?
time or the second time?
Well, the best one. You choose.
God,
God damn
I've
it.
got camera of Max over here.
I'm propping it up against a rock. I can't go in my house.
Okay.
Well, that's on
Look
you,
like
man.
a white rapper.
Give it up for
Maxwell
my boy.
Raps.
I'm trying to
young
think of the
Maxwell.
official story
Aw, come
is
back.
we
Come back,
actually
Maxwell.
we were actually in high school band at the same time at Edmond in the 80s.
Is
And
that
then that's true. That's
Okay.
true. So talk about being a statist. I was actually in a marching band in high
Wow.
school.
Wow.
Hey, don't worry,
So-
I was in it too.
Hey,
What'd you play?
trumpet.
I played the flute.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you guys are a bunch
nobody
of
could
nerds.
hear you because of us.
That's exactly. Thank you for making
Hey,
your
my
sound
daughter,
so sharp.
my daughter actually is in the marching band and Guthrie, and she actually uses my sister's old flute while she marches.
But
in.
that's interesting. So it can still play.
Oh gosh, yeah, I had it overhauled. There's a guy here on the
Okay,
north
so
side.
the keys and all the keys have been replaced.
Dahlia. I had it overhauled, and
Okay, cool.
Anyway.
Yeah.
and my
I just-
horns,
yeah.
all my horns got overhauled, and they actually sounded really good all of a sudden. So, but as for Mrs. Bear, well, she's over there. Shh. She's in the other
Don't
room.
wake the bear.
No, we actually knew each other in high school, but weren't friends, right? And then later on, our kids, we were both married to other people about, some time ago. And then our kids, my daughter and her daughter had kind of become friends because we had a lot of crossover friends. And we both were getting divorced roughly at the same time. And then that's kind of how that happened.
Oh, I see. So you didn't get like arrested by a barkeeper or anything like that, like Dan Berman?
No,
Hey,
no.
not everybody is Dan Berman.
Everybody
Right.
should be Dan Berman.
I like Dan, I guess. I just don't understand the whole Mexico thing. Like, is he an expat or?
Well, that's where
He's wanting not to pay taxes. What do you think? I mean, he's
Okay.
reducing. No, he's reducing, and this is one of his major points that he made in debate with Kokesh and other people in a debate I watched. But he's reducing the point to where he can rely on any state, not just the U.S. state, but any state. So the only thing he has that is state related in any country is his U.S. passport. He doesn't own anything else that he needs to pay Mexican or U.S. taxes on.
Yeah, his
So
wife
that
is-
was
Where's
his
his mo-
idea.
So his money is at some bank in Trinidad or what?
I don't know. He's not
We don't know.
saying.
We don't know.
We don't
Okay.
know.
we
Hey,
don't
I
have
just-
a
I
warrant for
kept
that kind of
asking-
question.
I think he was messing with the FEC because he posted that, oh yeah, I loaned my campaign $50 million.
Yeah, he was. We actually had him on an interview and he said,
You
yeah, he
asked
was
him
just
about
He was
digging around.
trolling. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Dan as a on an individual level is a fucking fantastic guy. If you ever get the chance to like just sit down and talk to him, like he has so many fucking cool stories and he's a really nice guy and he's super well educated about it. Like, the different libertarian issues, history. He can talk about the amendments, Constitution all night long, the various legal bills involving taxation. He really hates taxation. Really
Yeah,
hates taxation.
really hates that.
Something about that hat
Like
made me think
pineapple
so.
pizza.
Yeah.
It's a big hat.
It's a big hat.
Kick ass hat.
It's a
Big tie
target.
too. Don't forget about the big tie.
Oh, yeah.
He had a big tie and a big hat.
No, I mean Dan's a really cool guy. It sucks that he didn't get the nomination in my book, but I think he was a little more anarcho than what the Libertarian Party was looking for.
Well, yeah, and to be fair, the Libertarian Party has always been kind of more minarchist, right?
Yeah,
Right.
they have.
If that.
Now, again,
Johnson.
anarcho-capitalists as fellow travelers are
What
fine. And
is
Gary,
Aleppo?
Well, there's a-
Oh.
That-
Fuck
the
Gary.
Aleppo thing wasn't the reason to be
No,
mad
no,
at
no,
Gary.
Fuck Gary.
That
Fuck
was when I
Gary.
first heard about him. That was when I used to be a Trotskyist.
Slim
And I saw that
Shady.
guy, and he was like
Hey.
the laughing stock of everybody. It was great.
Just to be clear, you all are former communists, right? I mean, I don't have to like get mad.
I used to be a
I'm
commie.
Yeah.
Apparently, he
former
used to be a
communist.
commie.
I wanted a bust of
I-
Lenin, like an
I have
actual bust.
never-
Freaking our
I have
vice
never,
chair.
Still
ever,
want that
been a communist. I just would
You've
No,
had
I-
you've had Hobby on the show, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kevin.
He was like, I used to be a communist, and we're like, what?
Yeah, we get along well.
Yeah, like
Okay.
he didn't just used to be a communist. He like was like I was one of those far out leftist people, and I'm like, oh god,
Oh
you-
God.
oh god, what are we getting into? It was exciting. I like using him as an example. We got to get him back on here. I liked him on here. That was fun.
Kevin's a really
You got to
nice guy.
get Frankie Mermaid on the show.
He's been over here in the comments section though.
Oh yeah.
You know
oh,
who
I
we
didn't
need
see
to
it. Get Frankie Mermaid on the show in
Now-
his persona.
Now that we really have like everybody hating Nick Starwalk, which why wouldn't they? We really need to get Joshua Smith on the show.
Yeah. I
Well, that would
agree.
be interesting,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Paxton, did I ever tell you about the time that I met Nicholas Sarwark?
No,
Oh,
it's not
God.
important though.
What happened?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just keep
Dill,
going.
No,
it
I
happened
wanna
to
hear
Dill.
this.
It's
No,
not.
no.
No, I want to
Don't.
hear this.
No,
Don't
it's
encourage
fine.
it, Mike.
Don't
We'll do this
encourage
in
it.
the
Just
Discord.
No, I
Plug
want
for
to
the
hear this.
Discord.
ignore the foreigner.
I told them they could tell their story. I want to hear this fucking story.
If nobody wants me to say it, then I will.
no,
I
no
will
one
take
wants
my
you to say it.
performance elsewhere.
I'm
Yeah,
not
take-
nobody,
take-
God damn it. I'm not
Yeah.
nobody. Here,
Yeah,
hold
I,
on.
I will
here.
You're
take it where
nobody
it's
to the
more,
police.
Here you
appreciated.
go.
Well, I appreciate you, Victoria. Thank you
What
so
on
much.
earth?
You're beautiful. I give you roses, yeah?
This
So
is
Jay,
not the same dollar.
what do you think
Make
is
it
the
rain.
most
Make it
difficult thing about
rain.
the Libertarian Party?
All of you.
Okay.
No.
Hey,
No,
I'm not
no.
even in the Libertarian Party. Don't get.
Well,
me
I mean, can you vote?
No.
Huh?
But you
Huh?
can you
What?
can hold a sign, right?
Yeah, you can
I
hold
can hold
a
a
sign.
sign.
Okay.
His arms
can't
get tired
vote.
though.
My biggest frustration right now, and this might have something to do with Sarwark if you want it to, but
We're gonna blame him anyway. So
we'll blame him anyway. I don't know why it's okay to hate on the alt-right infiltrators, whoever those people are. And I know, you'll always hear about, oh, those Mises people are alt-right and Tom Woods is a racist and all this other stuff. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
I'm only taking your word for it. You realize that when you people say these people are racist, I have to rely on what you're saying because I haven't heard them say racist stuff. But there seems to be a big group of people that give the other end a pass, and I'm not okay with that.
yeah, fuck them both.
I think our current party secretary got into some hot water, and they accused her of being an alt-right sympathizer, and all she had really said was, "Okay, now do the communists."
Yeah.
Why is that okay? Why are collectivist ideologies of any stripe tolerated? And I understand we want to be a big tent, but I don't think you can have a big tent if there's no, sides to
Now,
the tent.
Now here's where I
Anti-authoritarian.
have my 2
Well,
cents.
I think that's where
for
the line
the
should
80th
be
time.
between us and the authoritarians.
See, I think that as long as you are not going to force other people to join your commune and you aren't like fucking authoritarian, I join. I don't care if you're a communist as long as you don't make me do communism.
No,
Right.
that's
Okay.
not how communism
That's
works.
not communism.
By definition, you have to have force in a communist society. They are
Eventually.
forcing taxes out of you. Some
In
sort of
Marxist
resources is
communism,
coming
yes,
out of
we're
you.
not talking about Marxism. The Marxists can go fuck themselves.
Well, and
That is where
actually communism.
Okay, let me back up.
Mm.
Marxists, classical Marxists in the Libertarian Party. Call them whatever you want. Anarcho-communists, anarcho-capitalists, whatever. They can say what they are. They can say, oh no, I'm just going to be over here in my little kibbutzim and we're going to grow rice and trade with other villages. Great. Hey, go do that. That's fine. But every time, I'm going to tell you from experience, every time I have scratched a lib sock, there's red paint underneath.
Mhm.
Every single time. I don't know if it's all of them, but there are certain buttons you can push and you say, okay, well, what if I have a factory and blah, blah. And as soon as you start saying, you're hiring workers, man, it's like a light comes on.
The authoritarianism
And they're
comes
like,
out,
oh,
the
well,
arm goes up.
we own our own productive capabilities. So, and like, yeah, but you're breaking an implicit contract. If I was paying you to work in my factory, you don't get to own my factory. I was giving you money in exchange for your labor. Well, it's inherent in the labor theory of value. It will eventually lead you to thinking that because you worked really hard on this, somebody must want a lot of money for it.
Well, I just don't think that they should call themselves ANCOMs because, like,
Fuck 'em.
if you really,
I
don't
think they
believe
should
in
call
using
themselves whatever they want to
force-
be called.
Oh my
Stop
god,
being
Max,
such a
you
Look,
fucking idealistic
Stop being
motherfucker.
such a limp-dick pussy, Max. The
Jesus
truth
Christ.
is,
All
I'm
right.
probably the furthest
So
left
maybe-
person in
maybe
here
to-
right now.
if you don't believe in the state and you don't believe in using force, you're not a fucking communist. You're just not.
I disagree. They could call themselves whatever they want, and
Well,
they're
yeah,
that.
you
Who are
can
we to
call
I'm a
dictate what-
communist then.
whatever
I'm
you
a
want.
Yes,
fucking
you are.
communist.
If you say you're a
Oh,
communist,
fucking
you're a
God.
communist.
Okay,
Like,
we're
I can
communist
call my-
helicopters.
I
Let
got
me
the
be-
Get the
challenge.
fuck out of here.
Okay,
Let me
here's my hot
maybe
take. I
clarify.
have a hot take here, real quick.
Mixwell,
Like,
Jay,
am I a Jaguar?
we have to
I
grill
say
him for a
I'm
while.
Jaguar.
You
In my
just relax,
Jaguar,
Jay.
answer.
I
Mixwell, just
can
answer my
fucking-
question.
I can fucking call myself a dude all I want, but I'm not biologically a fucking dude. So what are you gonna do about it?
Politics isn't biology.
Mixed
Politics
well.
isn't a
Am I a
perfect
Jaguar? Answer the
Exactly, and
question.
Maxwell's right
My
on that.
Jaguar.
Mixwell, am I a Jaguar? Yes, no, yes. Answer the question. Why are you dodging the question, Mixwell?
I don't know. You definitely don't look like a human being, though. Get out of
Oh
here with the
my
big
fucking-
ass glasses.
I can go into a. I don't know why I've got a dollar.
Maxwell,
in my
I don't
hand.
know why you
can
can't
go into
answer an
anywhere I
honest
want
question.
and
You're
say
not
I'm
a jaguar
communist.
because biology
Oh,
isn't
okay.
fucking
Well,
Well,
politics.
then,
Oh.
why can I be an anarcho?
Just let them
snack
run their
attack
commune and let
ether?
them call themselves what they want. You don't have to be correcting people and shit when they if I call myself an anarcho fascist
I don't
with
have to
Western
correct them at all because
characteristics.
they're going to
I can
starve
be
to
that.
death. I've seen their gardens.
Just because I don't like their fucking name doesn't mean I'm gonna stop them from being what they are. I just think
We'll
better
stop being a dick
descriptors
to
Oh
them
my
and
God.
let them
Alright,
just like
so-
Oh,
be.
fuck you.
communist.
I'll be a
will
dick to
not.
whoever I
I'll
want to
be a
be.
dick if I want
Well, I'll
to.
be a dick to you too, Paxton. Fuck off.
Fuck you. Be fucking smarter
Is
for
this
2
how the-
minutes
is
and
this how the
realize that you
podcast
can't fucking
ends?
do this.
I don't know.
Every
Let's just
time?
let it end to how it
Not
ends.
every time.
I wanna
but
ask-
mean,
I want to ask
do
one
that.
question for Jay. I want you to
Okay.
tell us about your experience with Maj 2, Ray.
Maj is
How
a
was it?
stand-up guy, in my estimation. He came to Tulsa. He was super friendly.
Did you learn anything?
Let me give you just a character example. I didn't go there to learn pistol handling. I did pick up a couple of tips from Marshall Luton, who's a world-class instructor. But here's what I thought. Just tell you the quick story about Maj Dre. Sharice and I showed up, walked up, introduced ourselves. He's like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm wearing my Arm Bear Caucus t-shirt." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen you on Twitter or whatever." And then we said, "Hey, could we get a selfie? It would make all the right people really upset if we got a selfie with you." And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And then they were having some trouble with the laptop. And we said, "Hey, you know what? You're busy. We'll go back to our table and we'll do this later." Now, what happens 15 minutes later, he comes over, finds us and says, "You ready to do that selfie?" This is a tiny thing, right? It seems like a tiny thing, but he actually remembered. He actually came over. He made a point of making sure that anybody who wanted one got a selfie. And he wasn't just like thinking he was the famous guy and he, was gracing us with his presence. That wasn't the feel. It
not
was
at
just
all.
that we said, "Hey, can we get a selfie?" He said yes, and he stuck to that, and he made sure it happened. And these little things are what will make people believe you and trust you, is when you do the little things like that. So that's what I took away from that. I watched him on Larry Sharp. I watched him on other podcasts. I watched him on your podcast, and I've got that idea of him as a stand-up guy. And I think I know what he's trying to do. I get what he's trying to do. I like what he's trying to do. And that's all I had to say about that, I guess. I like Maj. I think Nick's really missed out on an opportunity there
I
Yeah.
mean,
to not
for
mend
me,
offense.
it would be nice to have like Maj Toure, a Black Lives Matter activist, and Brandon Tatum talk as a real talk to talk about Black on Black crime, Blacks owning guns, and how the Black community has been deceived by both parties.
That would be
And I just don't hear that cross connection conversation. There was one conversation about conservatives, Black conservatives coming together, and Uncle Hotep and Hotep Jesus had a very confrontational argument about the 2A with Brandon Tatum. But if they brought, Tony Okafor was there to sort of hold the fort down. But if they brought in Maj Touré in that conversation and Eric July, then the new conversation would have happened, a better one. But even Black conservatives can't get together. Black liberals can't really come together. But it seems like Black libertarians are always on point, especially with the 2A argument.
Yeah.
And
I
Nick,
just wish that
and
was
Nick
made
managed
more.
to piss off both Maj and Eric July.
And Eric July, because he's just a fucking goddamn peach.
I just want to point out that this whole adventure started because of Maj Touré and how Nick Sarwark treated him. The whole reason we got involved in the LP was like the moment he decided to do that, and we both decided like we need to get rid of this shithead. And here we are.
It's time for us to actually get involved instead of being little L's and
Can Maj come to Phoenix?
little A's, I guess.
No,
or
fuck you.
whatever.
Oh,
He might do a Black Guns Matter out there. You can
No.
go.
I hope so.
No?
No, I already texted him. He said no.
He said
did
no. Did you tell him
He
not to go?
doesn't answer
Uh,
text.
Paxton sent him a text and said, "We got this weirdo down there in Arizona.
White
Let
supremacist.
him stay
This
clear,
white
bro."
supremacist wants you to come down. No,
He looks like a white rapper. Don't listen to him.
Shut the fuck up.
that's okay. Paxton was like, "Hey, there's like KKK raids in fucking Arkansas. Would you
That's
go
what
down
you
there?" And I
described
was
it
like,
as.
That's not what I fucking said. I got in there and like texted it, and I'm like, I know Paxton said there was KKK raids, but that is not what
Oh,
I fucking
I'll
told
fucking
Was it-
him.
drive up there in a hood and make it a reality,
Was
okay?
it just the one time though?
Oh my
It's just
god.
the
No,
one time.
unfortunately, it's not just the one time here. But even Harrison, our like fucking super racist area or whatever, or Harrison was like fucking protesting with people.
Hey,
and
there
shit.
are those young men
We were
over
all
there
like,
wearing the white,
"Whoa."
burning down those crosses. That's very disrespectful to my religion. Very disrespectful.
I really don't get the whole burning cross thing. Like just from
It's like an
from
Irish
a
Hey,
thing.
religious
that was
standpoint.
apparently made up for Birth of a Nation, the movie. And then it became a thing.
And they were like,
So-
hey, you know what? That's a really good idea. What
Yeah.
the fuck? God
Something like
damn,
that.
these
Damn
dumb
it.
fucking bread motherfuckers. God damn it. Oh fuck.
Well,
They're the reason we can't have a fucking civil war. Oh my god.
Well, in
These
burning
are the
crosses
motherfuckers
is
that would be
somewhat
showing.
satanic too. I mean, they burn the cross. You just
That's
turn
the
the
whole
cross
thing.
upside down and then burn it. So, I mean,
For the
the
longest time, that
KKK
used to
and
be like
Satanists
the
have something in
thing.
common.
Yeah, it fucking makes no sense to me. And I mean, just from a religious standpoint, that they act like it's like the Christian thing to do. Like, I get you guys can't read, but I'm pretty sure Jesus would be like, yeah, but fuck the black people. I'm pretty
No,
sure
Yeah.
you know,
never
you-
said
He's
that.
like, love thy neighbor,
That's
except
a
the
Yeah.
blacks.
soundbite.
Those people,
Unless they're the
despite
African-
making up 13%.
God damn it, the KKK people and white supremacists and skinheads.
look,
Oh,
just
man.
ask
Like
him if they're aware of the book of Galatians.
Oh, that's a good.
They
one.
probably aren't.
They can't read. That's what you're
Ah.
not understanding, Jay. That's the problem.
Dick, they're from
Aye.
Alabama.
That's why
they
you-
can't
With
read.
you if they
You
No,
show me
they're-
a white supremacist fucking rally that has a sign, and I'll show you a white supremacist rally that doesn't really have white supremacists in it, because none of them can read and none of them
I'll be honest, I haven't
not
seen
true,
them
like-
having a rally anywhere.
Well, except that one time, but what did they all have?
Except for
Tiki
that one time.
torches. Tiki
Yeah,
torches,
yeah,
no
it's a
It's a bunch
sign.
of college
Tiki
kids.
torches.
They were
I mean, like
college
at most,
kids.
their sign has a swastika on it, which isn't even like words.
Yeah,
Actually,
not
the
really
swastika
afraid of
was
a white
stolen from an
supremacist.
Indian Hindu love symbol, I think.
One of my favorite things though is watching a white supremacist rally, and they had the fucking Nazi sign like fucked up, like someone fucked up the sign, and they still had it up, and it's
Like
like,
backwards.
well, it
Oh,
wasn't even
yeah, I
backwards.
saw
Like they
that.
fucking did two of the legs wrong. It was a mess.
Looked like
Yeah.
like a couple of staples or something on each other.
So
Anyway.
like rather than having them all facing like a cartwheel, they had one going the other way. So it was like two like that instead of, you know, like that and that.
And then did Brad
Well,
Pitt
it's
show
like
up and
instead
beat
of
him up
saying
with a
Sieg
stick?
Heil, they said Sieg
They should've.
Rain.
God.
Sieg Sleet. It's not
Oh.
Heil. It's
Well, now
Sleet.
that we've had Man in the High Castle, they probably get it right more often.
Hopefully, who knows?
I mean, like, yeah, it's a shame to see people fuck up their own symbology. Then we don't know who to piss at.
I will
Yeah.
give it to them
Well,
though.
see, that's
Like
why I get irritated when non-communists call themselves communists. You shit.
The only good
Shut
thing
up,
about
Mike. They're communists if they want to be. If they
I will not
believe in
shut up.
communal
All right.
living, they're communist.
Here's my take. I joined the Marine Corps during probably the peak, like towards the end of the Cold War. Communism meant one thing: godless Russians.
it's
Right?
red, it's
That's
dead.
better dead than red.
Amen.
And you know what? I still sort of feel that way.
I'm really
Yeah.
speaking of communism though, I'm really frustrated with some people online right now who are like convinced that there's like communism involved with like all these individual protests and shit. Like there is not a single like okay, there was one tiny shred of some communists that were there at one point that I saw, but I haven't really seen any communists. Like I actually went and asked people if they were communists and what they thought about communism just to be sure. And they still won't fucking believe me that it's not a communist thing. They're just like, "Oh my god, it just makes me want to fucking die a little bit."
I just
Yeah,
want to say
Mike,
Hugo
you,
Boss
you
had it on
trust
point.
the Reds too
you know
much.
these motherfuckers lived through the Red Scare or some shit. Like they're just like barely alive and old or something. Cause
Can
like,
we
what the hell? Are you traumatized? What happened to you?
can we bring back like old school military uniforms?
Yes.
Like early 19th century, like
They
1890s
Hugo
look
Boss
good
to make
uniforms.
them.
back then.
Oh,
But like, I mean,
Yes.
I'm not
I'm all
trying
for
to
that.
support communism or anything like that, mind you. It's just I don't fucking see it around every goddamn corner.
Mike, you're not
Oh,
talking
I
about
do.
anything important. Like Jesus, I'm talking about the military uniforms. If I don't want to bang you in uniform, you're not fucking wearing it right. Like the fucking olive green shit is bullshit. Fuck you. I want bright reds, bright blues. Where is the Prussian blue? Bring back Prussia. Make Prussia great again.
That's too early. We don't want them to think they're like boomers or some
That's-
shit. Now we
that's
need
whenever
we
the
need like the
uniform
pinks
looks
and
pimp.
greens back.
I want the fucking like nice fucking like tall ass hats that make you look like a giant. That's what I want. I want the
But
fucking.
that's how you
beat up
get mowed
Paxton.
down by the
I
fucking
just want to be
Prussians.
left alone in
Hey.
my
Well, don't-
short skirt.
Paxton, I got a
Paxton,
question for you. Paxton,
go ahead.
listen. Wait, no,
You all have
Paxton,
questions
I
for
have
me.
a
I get
question.
it. Go,
Frederick
go.
the Great or Frederick the Super Amazing Awesome Great?
You mean
Which
Donald
name
Trump?
do you prefer? No, I think you're talking about Prussia. You're faking it. You talk about Prussia like it's some great. You're getting your dick wet. But then when I talk about Frederick the Great, you're like, I know nothing. I know nothing.
The only
You
We
important
know
LARPing,
everything about
Paxton.
Frederick the Great.
the only
Stop
important
LARPing.
Bitch, fight me.
Paxton,
the
stop
only
LARPing.
important Prussian ever
Hmm.
to exist was Otto. That was it.
Your
Everyone else
boy
was
busy.
Yeah. fucking old Biz Slammy
Look,
was the only
Zeke-
fucking dude that fucking mattered.
ugh.
Y'all,
Sie kennt Friedrich der Große nicht.
Exactly.
The great unifier in the
Speaking of
streets,
Deutsch.
the great unifier in the sheets. I would totally
yeah,
smash
but
out of
we've
von
been at
Bismarck.
this for like 2 hours, so like if anybody had anything that they wanted to bring up before we close this shit.
Old
Speak
school
now or
military
forever
uniforms.
hold your peace. We will be
Wait.
continuing this in the Discord, hopefully, though. So plug
Wait,
for that.
I want to hear the
Yeah.
goddamn story about Nick.
Oh yes, let me tell you a story about Nicholas Sarwak. So I was in the club, I am a world-class seducer of women. So I have 2 women around me, and man comes up to me, drunk. He's like, "Hello there, I'm Nicholas Sarwak." And so I feel like, I want to ask him because I was disappointed at the last election. I went look at the politicians and they say they're libertarian, but look at their platform. They're fucking Republicans. They just lost their election, So I'm like, Nick, what the fuck's up with this shit? And he's like, hey, listen, man, like liberty is just like this concept. It's like a brand, bro. And man, it's like everyone can be part of it, man. And and that's what I got the name Nicholas Sarok. I don't call him. I call him Dickle Shits Artard. Because he loves all these cock-servatives.
Have you
That's what I
seen-
call them. It's not that I'm against cock-servatives or anything like that. I just don't swing like this. I don't. That's not my thing. But if Nick wants to do that in his personal life, that's fine. But I don't want the bitches around me to see this degradation. So we walked away, and I resigned from that organization. So that's my story of Nicholas Starrock.
And you're sticking to it.
Well, that's the truth. What do you mean? I'm sticking to it. You know, look. When Nicholas Sarek resigns and we renounce our commitment to conservatism, then I'll look away. Yes.
Oh
That's my
fuck.
story.
Well, it's
Yeah,
getting
I
late,
told you
fellas.
to
I think
chase
it's time to
people out
close.
of the party. Did
Yeah,
anybody
let
have anything else they wanted to say before this was all over?
Well,
1800s
I'm just
military
curious.
uniforms.
Has anybody followed or just was curious about the America First populist right push? I mean, the libertarians are not talking about that at all, and
I
they
mean, I
need
know
to.
it
Fuck 'em.
exists, but it's kind of gay, but not
Fuck
in
'em.
a good, happy way either.
fuck
Can we
'em.
get a
I mean,
unanimous
uh,
fuck
Not in a
them?
side way.
I think that's the movement. It's kind of done. You know, the highlights maybe like from Mises to Carlyle. I don't know. Read all that old shit. It's done. Nobody really cares about it anymore. The people who were libertarians, they've all gone and fucking, you know, they've moved on to their own projects. You know, who's really moving over now? Everyone who was moving over moved over in 2016, 2017, 2015. They were gone. You know. I don't like. There's no
I'm
the
just,
pipelines.
like, we want to open a conversation with a lot of leftists, like Sarwak wants to do. I want to
Mhm.
open a conversation with a lot of the American First people and just say, "Hey, there's another way.
Well,
This is the way."
understand. I don't understand why we can't just go for fucking principles and issues and shit. Why do we have to bring the, people who are not libertarian party type people into libertarians? Why can't we just get them to agree with us?
Yeah, why can't we just make friends and not let everybody and their mother into the
Like,
party?
go after the
Why can't we just
issues
have the
that we
boogaloo and
all
not have to
agree
worry
on
about
and get
recruiting
them
Oh, I
people?
mean,
You know
like the
what,
Libertarian Party
Paxton?
can't
Paxton, I'm
understand
not
its own
going to
party.
agree with you because I don't want to be called a terrorist, but I do agree with you in Minecraft.
Okay, thank you for that.
Axton
Jay-
wants to have a boogaloo with a high starched collar and a top hat or whatever.
Wearing like an
I'm
old
going to be in.
French
I'm going to be in
uniform.
like the world's biggest ghillie suit.
I believe in
Yeah,
residential
see,
nukes.
I'm gonna
Hey, I
be
want a
like
stilt
covered
suit
in
from
fucking
Dune. That's
paint and
my
mud
uniform.
Paxton will be
Yeah.
over there with like
Tips,
playing a
fedora
Prussian
to
march,
you.
and then I'll be up on the mountain with Bear going Wolverine.
I do actually have a ghillie suit is the funny thing. And a
Ah.
fucking
does.
net I don't know what you call it. I guess just a camouflage netting. So I'll just lay that shit anywhere. It'll be good.
Yeah, he pulled
Okay.
out that camouflage netting thing when we were trying to.
And then his
film our
$40
Boogaloo,
SKS and he's ready to go.
It was $20, thank you.
The SKS is the best weapons platform ever
Do
developed.
you-
We could argue about that later.
Jay, do you feel like any potential political
my
aspirations in
God.
the future just slipping away after talking to us in public?
Now,
You're like, oh man, there goes that run for mayor.
Oh,
I am barred by federal law from attaining a partisan office until I retire. So there you go.
Wait, what? Why?
What?
What kind of commie bullshit is that?
It's not a commie
It
particularly.
sounds commie.
Sounds commie.
You just Google the Hatch Act.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, Jay, the Hatch Act. That's pretty interesting. That's another podcast in itself.
yeah.
I'm restricted, but I'm not more restricted.
Well, I appreciate that. At least we have some clear, it's cleared a little bit.
Every
But
time-
no, there's way more people who are way more into that extroverted kind of political thing than I am. I'm more of the support guy in the back.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I
And
just
I'm
So
the-
like
I'm the
when
one
we're
that's gonna
booging,
tell
we can
you-
just bring our guns to you for repairs. Support
I'm
class.
not particularly the world's greatest gunsmith or anything, but I know a
Well,
guy.
I'm still open, guys.
But I know a guy.
I always know
Well,
a guy.
I, for one,
I know a guy that knows a guy.
that it was delightful to have you and that you are welcome back anytime, dude.
Well, I'm
It's
glad to
not-
have been.
Also, it's nice to
Oh.
have kind of a steady hand around here. Everybody's not running in circles, screaming boogaloo and lighting things on fire. in their
Well, I
faces.
mean,
Paxton
kinda
and I
am.
tried, but you guys kept
Yeah.
leveling us off.
like, ooh, let's talk about important things.
I'm
Ooh.
always like, can't we just be peaceful? They're all like,
Ooh,
Molotov.
politics. And I'm just like, booga, booga.
I just
Real
want to
shit,
point out
booga.
that one of the like meeting you and the other half for the first time, you had said something in particular to me about, I was talking about having a political career and stuff. And you
Oh.
said to me, you might have limited yourself to just an activist route with that podcast.
I
And I was
never
just like,
say never.
yeah.
Never say
So how
never.
much? So Bear, how much longer do I have to jump ship before I lose hope too?
Oh, it's too
Oh,
late.
we saw
We've
your
already
face. It's
seen
too
your
late.
face and everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
I mean,
They're
I
just
had
waiting
told the
for
people on other discords they're like, you should become a politician. You can talk well, and I said, dude, if I ever become a politician, you have all your rights to shoot me.
You're either going to become a politician or a YouTube rapper. It's one of the two.
Yo, it's
What's the
Lil
difference?
Lennon right
Either.
here.
The
Can't do both.
my political aspirations, probably the peak is going to be as what I am now as a delegate in the National Party, trying to keep the message on message. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Paxton's peak ambitions is supreme leader of the
monarchist.
Democratic People's Republic of Oklahoma. So
Listen, I'm not a
Only
U.S.
Oklahoma.
citizen, but a good friend of mine on next episode will announce a run for office. It's going to be big. Look
Oh,
forward
I
to it
can't
next
wait for
week.
that, Victoria.
Yes,
Can't wait
my
for that.
friend
whoa,
will be
shameless
on, and they will make
self-promotion.
they will make an announcement. But
Oh.
Well, I-
Victoria Leptaro, not citizen of the United States, so can't vote, can't run for office. But
Yeah.
Oh, and just
Can't stage a military coup.
a reminder, if you guys are 18 or up and can actually
vote.
legally touch a weapon or whatever it is, you know, Paxton, you're always welcome. Mike, anybody who's actually makes it to Central Oklahoma. I am not the world's greatest rifle instructor either, but I know some stuff. And
You know someone.
we can make you maximize the potential of that $20 rifle of yours.
Anytime
what
you
if
guys
we
want to
need
go
to
to the
have
round,
another
just
tea
hit me
party in
up.
We
Oklahoma.
need to go to the club when it's not 900 degrees out
One
there.
of these days when I get to Oklahoma and something fucking insane isn't happening, or I'm not getting assaulted.
The-
You're welcome to come in Alabama.
Or whatever.
Once
first
I'm allowed
time-
to drive across state lines with a rifle on my own, I'll be over there.
The first time Mike came over here, the COVID stuff was just starting, so all
It
my
was
fucking
in-
favorite restaurants were closed.
Yeah.
And then the second time he came down, all the protests started. Like, oh man. You should come over more often, Mike. It's like we get closer and closer to the Boogaloo every time you visit.
Who's Mike the
I'm
Omen.
an accelerationist.
Mike is the omen, and every time
Yeah.
I come to Oklahoma, we get just one step closer to the Boogaloo.
Just fucking move to Oklahoma, dude.
That's
Just
why I
make-
keep offering money for
accelerate.
you to come here.
Accelerate.
Well, I want to remind everybody that the Boogaloo is just the first 2% of it.
Yeah.
Say you get what you want. Now the crappy part starts after
Yeah.
that. So if you don't have,
I'm okay with the
extensive
crappy
gardens
Keeping
and
what you fought
farms and,
for. Keeping what you fought for after you fought for it.
and food, that's always a concern.
I'm sorry, but after the Boogaloo, I'm going to be starting the Democratic People's Republic of the Phoenix metro area.
Mm.
See,
You know
see
who's
the
from
bipolar?
Phoenix?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
shame.
So just a quick tip:
Fine.
never complain about how hot it is at your range when we got Ben Avery at 120 degrees.
Okay, Mike.
Sounds
Anyways,
like
y'all,
sounds
we
like
got
April in
social-
Kuwait.
We got
Mike,
social
end it.
Yeah,
media
April and
and-
Kuwait.
Mike,
We got-
Mike, end
I'm
it.
trying to. We
Mike,
got
end it.
social-
No,
Mike,
don't
end
end
it.
it.
Mike, end it.
No,
Mike,
don't end it,
Mike.
Mike.
Super
Don't end it.
Mike, end it.
I'm trying
Wait,
to.
don't
but
let a
y'all have
detonator
to
in your
shut
hand,
up
Mike.
first.
Just
Don't end it.
Oh my
Just do it,
God,
Mike.
fuck
Don't do
you
it.
guys.
Don't do
Don't
it.
do it, Mike.
This is
Don't
like
do it.
Everybody like and subscribe. There are links.
Join
do it,
us in the
Mike.
Discord.
Yeah,
I will
Mike,
drink to
don't
you,
go.
Mike.
Yeah,
Discord and
Philosophy.
hang out with us. Oh my fucking God. Let's
everybody
just
like and subscribe the
like
channel.
and subscribe.
Join our-
I can
join our
subscribe.
subscribe
Help us
star.
get YouTube
Buy our
viewership.
t-shirts.